I am a wealthy master in India. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, Dark Czar. Of course, what Ron wanted to see was the income that had been recorded, that is, the money that was put into his pocket. In the first week, our guest spent a total of 270,000 rupees. Yes, Baba, these are all recorded as commissionable consumption. The so-called commissionable consumption means that the tourists spent all this money on the consumption packages provided by his company. Hotels, restaurants, entertainment venues, etc., all have commission agreements with Mumbai Travel Information Company. Ron glanced around and found that about 60,000 of the 270,000 rupees finally fell into his pocket. On average, the commission was maintained at around 22%, which is not a bad ratio. Unfortunately, the 270,000 rupees is the cumulative data of 20 contracts, and each contract means a wave of guests. The average spending of these people during their stay in Mumbai barely exceeded 10,000 rupees, which is a bit behind Smith and Anna. But this is normal. After all, the fat sheep are a minority, and the general public is the main body of society. Baba, in addition to the 60,000 rupees, there are also 25,000 basic service fees, 15,000 commissions from second-hand transactions, and a total of 100,000 rupees. How much money do we have in the account? Less than 20,000 rupees, which is used to give bonuses to everyone. All other cash, including the previous savings of more than 40,000, has been exchanged from tourists into US dollars. I expect the rupee to fall further, and this amount of money will be maintained in the account for the next 2 weeks. All other income will be exchanged for foreigners. We don't want rupees, okay? Nia hurriedly wrote it down. Ron didn't have much money in his hands. After a month of tossing and turning, he finally got more than 120,000 rupees. Since he knew that the rupee would continue to depreciate, of course he had to speculate in foreign exchange. Coincidentally, the Mumbai Tourism Information Company happened to have unique resources, and those foreigners had a lot of foreign currency. At the other end of the foreign exchange black market, Hard Khan was an acquaintance of him. Look, a mature industrial chain was born. The only drawback was that his capital was not strong enough, so he could only drink the soup this time. After the exchange rate stabilized, he was ready to sell all the US dollars in his hand. Ron doesn't need so much foreign exchange. He doesn't go abroad or engage in foreign trade. Why does he need so many dollars? It's only right to convert it into rupees and continue to expand the company's operations. At least he should rent a decent office. It's too shabby to squeeze in Victoria Station every day. He should also hire 1 or 2 clerks. Nia is his exclusive maid. Let others do the work. By the way, Nia, have you ever worn a skirt? Nia, wrapped in a light sari, was surprised and didn't know how to answer. You can try it. She has fair skin, a slender waist, and long legs. She must be beautiful in a skirt. Baba, are you talking about the kind of skirt in the movie? Nia asked in a low voice. Yes, Nia must look good in it, but Indian women never wear it like this. I'm not asking you to wear it for others to see, but to wear it at home, understand? Well, after hesitating for a long time, Nia's face was as red as if it was dyed. I'll bring you a magazine in 2 days, you can refer to it. Ron waved his hand nonchalantly. He was a professional in training maids. Time passed quickly, and another week passed in the blink of an eye. It was about to enter May. The climate in South India was getting hotter and hotter. Even the foreigners in Victoria Station were no longer so frequent. Ron and Anand were studying the train timetable for the next 2 weeks, which was related to their financial plan. Ron, in 2 months, we might have no business. Why? It's too hot. No one wants to walk on the streets of Mumbai in summer. The rainy season is coming, and there will be water everywhere, then everyone will have no money to make. How did you survive this period when you were a guide? Why? There are tens of millions of foreigners in Mumbai, and they need people to serve them. Anand shook his head optimistically. He has been in this industry for many years and has his own way of survival. But Ron sighed secretly. It's the off-season for tourism. He almost forgot about it. In the summer, the wealthy people in Mumbai are all fleeing, so there is no reason for foreigners to come in. Don't worry, there will be business. Victoria Station is not all, Anand comforted. Why, Ron, who was worried, subconsciously raised his eyelids. Many foreigners in Mumbai have heard of your name, and other businesses will come to you. Anand blinked mysteriously, with a smile on his round face, as if he was deliberately playing a guessing game with Ron. To be honest, I still prefer to receive newcomers. Although they don't know anything, they need us more. Yes, but that's the way it is. We have to change our identities flexibly. Ron guessed that it was nothing more than black market transactions. If there were no new tourists, then they would serve the old customers. Foreigners who come here to travel can stay for a week or a few months. With this initial incense relationship, the Mumbai Tourism Information Company can also attract some other business. By the way, Anand, do you know Hard Khan? Which Hard Khan? Pulik Hard Khan, the boss of the foreign exchange black market. Anand's eyes widened and he turned around in disbelief. Have you seen the legendary boss? Wait, didn't you introduce the black market to me in the first place? Of course I know that the black market is one of his businesses, but I never said I know him. No. Of course I know him, he's a big shot who is known to everyone in Mumbai. Ron was almost confused by him, so he had to interrupt his dancing. There were some things he needed to understand, and his intuition told him that he had missed some very important information. So you introduced me to the black market not because you two knew each other. Anand squinted his eyes and laughed as if he heard a joke. I never thought that I had such a great image in your heart, Ron. Great. Yes, that's Kadir Bhai. His name appears in the newspapers every few days, and people talk about him in the market, nightclubs, and slums. The rich admire and fear him, and the poor respect him and worship him as a god. His philosophy is famous throughout Mumbai, and his friendship with artists, entrepreneurs, and politicians is also well known. He is also one of the underworld bosses in Mumbai and the founder of the Federation system. This system divides Mumbai into several territories, which are governed by different gangs. This system is very good and popular, because after more than 10 years of bloody struggles for territory, this system has stabilized the underground world of Mumbai. In short, he is powerful, dangerous but smart. Ron was shocked by his words. He had dealt with such a famous underworld boss twice without knowing it? He wants to see me, Anand. What? This time it was Anand's turn to be shocked beyond words. Ron, have you gotten into any trouble? Of course not, I even saved his men. That's good, I don't have to collect your body for you. Hey, isn't this too much? Man, not at all. Anand rarely smiled. Ron, promise me, we'll just do our business now. Chapter 27 Meeting. Ron was going to meet Hardhan. His company had been open for a month, but the rupees on the books were still pitifully few, but there were a lot of small pieces of US dollars. He needed to convert these US dollars into rupees, then pay his employees and continue to expand the company. Of course, another important factor was that the exchange rate of rupee to US dollar had stabilized, and now it was roughly maintained at around 31:1. In just 2 months, the rupee depreciated by 70%. In March, first US dollar could be exchanged for 18 rupees, and in May it became 31 rupees. The change in currency exchange rate has far-reaching impacts. The most direct feeling of the people of Mumbai is that prices are rising. In the past, a cup of milk tea at a roadside stall cost 20 paise, but now it has directly risen to 50 paise, which is even more outrageous than the depreciation of the rupee. This sense of urgency of shrinking wealth, in turn, has led to the prosperity of the foreign exchange black market. The poor are eager for more rupees, and the rich are selling their rupees. The whole Mumbai is bizarre. Ron, do you need to call 2 more people? No, it's too crowded. Carrying a suitcase, Ron squeezed into Anand's taxi with difficulty. Today, he went to see Kadir Khan, and Anand accompanied him. The taxi was borrowed. Holy God, if people knew that there was a bag full of US dollars in this car, we might not be able to get out of this street. Hey, relax. This is not a Bollywood movie. No one will pay attention to an ordinary taxi, but your face is sweating. Ron, are you afraid too? You are as timid as me. Right. What kind of lousy car did you borrow? It doesn't even have air conditioning. Ron was surprised. Don't taxis on the streets of Mumbai have air conditioning? It was the same last time. In late May, with a temperature of more than 30 degrees, it would be abnormal not to sweat in this small taxi. Anand's oily face was even worse than Ron's, but he patted the steering wheel with great pride. This is the pride of India, the ambassador car. Look, its horn is so beautiful. Anand kept honking the horn, shaking his head with joy as he honked, as if he was dancing. Ron was no longer surprised by this. The three brothers could live in poverty and go hungry. But they could never live without music and dance. They could dance and celebrate anytime and anywhere because of something happy. There is a reason why Bollywood movies like to dance when there is a disagreement. It really has a mass base. I'm curious. The streets of Mumbai are full of Fiat taxis. Where did you find this antique? You don't understand, Ron. This thing is a real luxury. In India, it is exclusive to officials and rich people. The round ambassador car is a replica of the old British car Morris Oxford. After 40 or 50 years, even the appearance has not changed. The car is very old, but the two of them rushed all the way on the streets of Mumbai. They laughed loudly and honked the horn like other taxis on the street. Wild, chaotic, and dirty Mumbai had a unique look at this moment. They didn't stop smiling until they stopped at the familiar little building. I'll go up, you wait here. Ron was about to get off the car with his bag, but Anand grabbed his arm. Ron, remember what I said before, we only do serious business. Although the rupee has become worthless, there are more tourists. I have a hunch that there is no off-season for tourism in Mumbai this year. Ron smiled. Okay, I remember. Although Anand respected Kader Khan very much, he didn't want Ron to get too involved. Now is good, slaughtering foreign fat sheep, clean and safe. Ron has been to this foreign exchange shop in South Mumbai several times, but he never knew that there was a private reception room above it. From the outside, this small building has only 3 floors, but it is unique inside. Hey, Ron, Kader Bhai is waiting for you. Johnny, who was guarding the door, gave him a warm hug. You look a little stronger. Very good. Exercise is my meditation. Never stop. Johnny pushed open the door and silently gestured inside. After Ron went in, he quietly closed the door again. The room was large, not a dark room as imagined. 3 exquisite chandeliers hung from the high ceiling. At one end of the room near the main door, there was a long conference table and 12 high-backed teak chairs. Opposite it was a bookcase, and there were 4 high windows on the wall. Prak. Hardhan stood in front of the high window, looking at the open scenery outside, the roof garden, the balcony where green and yellow saris were drying, and the rusty red herringbone roof. The expensive speakers embedded in the wall were playing music, and Ron listened attentively. It was a love song with religious connotations. Would you like a cup of tea? Hardhan stood in front of the window with his back to him. If it's convenient, Ron did not refuse. He lost a lot of water because of sweating on the way here. In Mumbai, people always have to drink water. Kader Khan turned around to turn off the music and pressed the round button on the desk. Soon a servant came in to greet him and ordered 2 cups of Persian tea. It was not until they sat down on the sofa that Ron saw his face clearly in the light. His beard and hair were shaved very short, and he looked more energetic than last time. Ron, it's nice to meet you again. I heard about you. What do you mean? Kader Bhai. When he heard the name Kader Bhai, the man opposite pursed his lips slightly, and a hint of smile appeared in his cold eyes. Your company, I heard them talking about you. There are hundreds of thousands of guides in Mumbai. They do the same business as you, but they have never thought of opening a company. I'm not sure if I can do it, but I thought that even if I fail, I won't lose anything, so I did it. I'm starting to like you, Ron. He said it so bluntly that Ron was a little stunned. The servant knocked on the door and the two stopped talking. The servant who served tea brought the narrow-mouthed kettle to a height of 1 meter above the glass and poured the hot tea in the air without splashing a drop of water. 2 cups of hot tea were pushed in front of each of them, along with a sugar cube. Ron was a little thirsty, so he picked up the cup directly. But Kadhan motioned him to wait. We are drinking Persian tea, and we have to do it the authentic Persian way. He picked up a sugar cube and bit it tightly with his upper and lower front teeth, then picked up the cup and sipped it through the sugar cube. Ron did the same, and the sugar cube slowly broke and melted in his mouth, and the taste was sweeter than he liked. How is it? Very novel and interesting. Kadhan's movement seemed to have a strange nobility and solemnity, but his expression was ordinary. Which was a momentum that Ron had never seen before. It was not until the black tea in the glass was half gone that the two of them sighed at the same time. How many rupees are you going to exchange this time? More than $20,000. Ron patted the luggage bag at his feet. Kadhan's eyes were more surprised. This young man was more unexpected than he had imagined. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Black Market Empire. It seems that your company is doing very well. In fact, there are some of my personal savings in it. I changed them into US dollars a month ago. Kadhun laughed. Do you know that the rupee will fall? Of course not, but it is the nature of businessmen to chase the rise and sell the fall. I like what you said. Kadhun lit a cigarette and seemed to be lost in thought. In 1 month, Ram converted all the company's commissions, service fees earned from tourists, and tips as a broker into US dollars, and this is how much it is. The total profit is about 500,000 rupees. After deducting 100,000 rupees in the first week, the growth in the next 3 weeks is obvious. This is due to the depreciation of the rupee, which attracted more tourists to Mumbai for consumption. The tourist off-season that Ron was worried about did not seem to come. The 500,000 rupees were gradually converted into US dollars during the withdrawal process. The exchange rate at that time was not as high as it is now. In addition to the original premium of the black market, Ron will also enjoy the dividends brought by the exchange rate difference. This time he made a lot of money. Ron, how much do you know about the black market? Kadhun put out the cigarette butt in his hand. Not too much. This is where I come into contact with the black market the most. Then let me ask it another way. Kadhun smiled and picked up the black tea again. In the bank, $1 can be exchanged for 31 rupees. Why can we use, for example, 35 rupees to buy the tourists $1? Because we can sell this $1 for more than 35 rupees. That's right. Then why can we do this? I think someone is willing to buy it at this price, Ron answered. That's right, but who are we selling it to? This Ron couldn't give a detailed answer. So far, he has not participated in this part of the transaction. The reason why the black market exists, Kadhun said in a deep voice, as if telling a secret, is because the legal market is too strictly controlled, and the merchants are greedy. When greed meets control, the black market comes into being. Rupee is a controlled currency and cannot be taken out of India. Rupee cannot be legally exchanged for US dollars anywhere in the world outside of India. But India has a large population, and thousands of businessmen and travelers go abroad every day. These people are only allowed to take a limited amount of US dollars out of the country, and the amount of rupees they can exchange is limited. Moreover, the process is very complicated, requiring the person to show a series of documents such as passports and air tickets. Each trip abroad can only be exchanged once, and travelers have no legal channels to exchange more US dollars. In India, almost everyone has some black money hidden under the bed. From hundreds of rupees that workers have not reported to the tax bureau to billions of rupees accumulated by the rich through illegal gains. The scale of the black market economy is about half of the legal economy. Those who hold a large amount of illegal black money cannot go to the bank to do their accounts because they need to prove the source of the money. Therefore, the only choice is to buy US dollars from black market money dealers. In Mumbai, millions of US dollars, pounds, marks, francs and other currencies are bought and sold on the black market every day. Ron has never understood this information and the ins and outs of the black market so thoroughly. He was also surprised at the scale of the black market. Half of the legal economy? It's ridiculous. If there is no corruption and crime in this deformed market, it would be a ghost. So do you understand the equation of black market transactions? Ron nodded. Buy the US dollars from tourists at a higher exchange rate than the official exchange rate, and then sell them to those who need them at a higher exchange rate to make a profit. It's simple, isn't it? It's just that this link is broken down into many parts. Tourists, you, me, and my customers, me. Ron vaguely grasped something. Do you know how we usually get the US dollars from tourists? Hardhun asked another question. Street brokers. This is the most common colleague Ron sees. Street brokers, tour guides, beggars, hotel managers, hotel waiters, restaurant owners, store owners, airline executives, travel agencies, bar owners, street walkers, taxi drivers. Hardhun almost reported all the occupations wandering the streets of Mumbai, and the more Ron listened, the more nervous he became. He finally understood where the problem was. He never thought he would face such a situation. Ron, have you noticed that your company has almost linked half of the people here together? Yes, he is the first checkpoint for receiving tourists. If all tourists exchanged dollars with him, then it seems that other people would be fine? Kader Bey, let's sign an agreement. From now on, the dollars of Mumbai Tourism Information Company will only be sold here, and will never go to other buyers. Ron surrendered at the speed of light. How the hell is this going to work? The other party is a big shot in Mumbai, how can he weigh so little? This wave is really a move against the god of fortune, and it is really unlucky. After hearing his words, Kader Bey was stunned at first, and then he couldn't help laughing. His laughter was hearty, without any anger. Ron, you are very smart and shrewd. But I think you misunderstood, huh? Do you think I will be angry because your company took the dollars away from tourists in advance? No. Not only will I not be angry, I will even be happy, huh? Ron really didn't understand. These people are not my subordinates. If I want to take the US dollars from them, I still need to send people to collect the money, and there is a bargaining process. But your company has saved all this. Look, the US dollars under your feet are more than what hundreds of people have accumulated in half a year. It's simple and efficient. Ron blinked. In other words, my company has not caused you any losses. I don't think so. Kadham smiled and lit another cigarette. In that case, Ron breathed a sigh of relief. What I just said still counts. Kadham glanced at him with his amber eyes and nodded. Okay. Ron stood up. He knew it was time to end this conversation. Ron, your company is still too small. When it is big enough, I will introduce another business to you. There are more ways to make money in the tourism industry than you think. Ron nodded, stood up and left. Downstairs, Anand had been waiting in a taxi for half an hour. Because of the hot weather and because of worry, sweat dripped down his forehead. Could it be that he was cheating on his fellow thieves? After all, it was hundreds of thousands of rupees. Just when Anand was struggling over whether to rush to save people or sneak away to ask the police for help, Ron came down with a bag. Done. 1.2 million rupees. Ron stuffed the heavy bag under his feet. Anand stared at it, stretched his legs and breathed rapidly. It's not all my money, there's also your share. Drive. Ron laughed and scolded, and Anand immediately cheered and stepped on the accelerator. Ron, where are you going? Go home and do the accounts first, and then take me to other places in Mumbai. Hey, you want to have fun. I know where there are exciting shows. No, I just want to see what other businesses in Mumbai can make money besides tourism. Ron's eyes flashed with worry, and the conversation just now was still lingering in his mind. Chapter 29 Trouble at the Door. 1.2 million rupees may seem like a lot, but according to the current official exchange rate, it is less than 40,000 US dollars. Tisk, it doesn't seem to be much money when you think about it. But seeing bundles of 500 rupees piled up on the table is still very visually impactful. In this foreign exchange feast, Ron invested a total of 500,000 rupees. This includes his savings, the company's gross profit, and Anand's private money. As mentioned earlier, they have been doing foreign exchange. This process lasted until the end of last month, long before the rupee fell. It was also because of this wave of interest rate difference that they were able to exchange 500,000 rupees for 26,000 US dollars. When they arrived at the black market, they sold it to Cadcon at 1.5 times the official price. During the entire transaction, Ron made two profits, one from the exchange rate difference of the rupee's fall, and the other from the premium on the black market. After two waves of dividends, the principal was more than doubled. What is a huge profit? It is written in the Indian Criminal Code. Well, that's an exaggeration. His business is at best a shady business. And as for India, those who know it know that everyone in this country is an outlaw. Ron is just adapting to the local customs. His achievements are not worth mentioning. 1.2 million rupees, 60,000 from Anand, and 40,000 as operating funds for the company. For the remaining 1.1 million, Ron plans to make two sets of accounts. One is the open account, which is the income from the company's operations. The other is the hidden account, which is what Hardhan calls black money, which is not taxed. The source of income of the Mumbai Tourism Information Company is very vague and cannot be defined at all. It is too easy to make accounts. India's supervision in this regard is non-existent, otherwise the scale of black money would not be more than half of the legal economy. Ron sighed that it was outrageous, but he had no choice but to accept it. After dividing the money in his hand and depositing part of it in the bank, Ron now began to think about another thing. Anand, where do you think is the best place to rent an office in Mumbai? Ron, are you talking about that kind of beautiful house with air conditioning? Anand's eyes lit up. Yes, we are doing a serious business, Of course we have to find a more impressive place to work. Yes, a beautiful house. Go to South Mumbai, which is the richest place in India. Anand, who was in a hurry, seemed to be more anxious than Ron. As soon as the two came out of the bank, he couldn't wait to get in the car. Wait a minute, Anand. This is your money. Do you want to deposit it in the bank? Ron stuffed 60,000 rupees wrapped in paper in advance into his hand. This is my money, 60,000, Anand shouted excitedly. Yes, we have all made a fortune, Ron Baba. We are rich. Anand stuffed the money into his arms and hugged it tightly. What did you call me? Ron Baba, add Baba after the name to show respect. I like you, Ron. No, shut up. Ron felt a chill. His mind was now full of Anand's round and fleshy face, and in the middle was the cute appearance of little Nia. You, Ron shuddered subconsciously. Why, you don't like it? Anand stared at his face. Call me Ron, but Baba, oh my god, keep your voice down. If you really consider me a friend, just call me Ron, okay, Ronba. Anand shut up and stole a glance at him. Okay. Aren't you going to take me to see the beautiful house with air conditioning? Ron waved his hand. Okay. Follow me. Anand cheered and led the way. The development of Mumbai from south to north can be traced with the naked eye. Starting from the southernmost India Gate, there are modern high-rise buildings nearby, or magnificent Gothic buildings. The Taj Mahal 5-star Hotel, the Reserve Bank of India, the Bombay Stock Exchange, and the Victoria Railway Station form the landmark buildings of Mumbai and are the CBD of the entire area. It also concentrates on universities, theaters, hospitals, courts, villas for the rich and other luxurious supporting facilities. It is the essence of the entire Mumbai. From here to the north, the central area is the community where ordinary office workers live. Ron's current apartment is here. After passing the central area and heading north, the first thing you encounter is Dharavi, the famous largest slum in Asia. If you look down from the air at night, the bright light bands from south to north gradually dim. When you arrive at the northernmost tip of Mumbai, it is no different from a rural area. Anand has been in Mumbai for many years, and he is familiar with every street and alley here. If you want to say the most suitable office location for us, it is of course the Fortress District. Anand pointed to the street in front of him proudly. It looks good here, the streets are prosperous, and the architectural style is very similar to Europe. I guess there should be many colonial offices preserved inside. Not only that, Victoria Railway Station is also in the Fortress District, as are the Gate of India and the Taj Mahal Hotel, and even the docks. Following the direction of Anand's finger, Ron saw high-rise buildings, park squares, old Gothic houses, convenience stores and roadside stalls lined up along the street. The Fortress District was where the British first gathered when they occupied Mumbai. They built a wall to surround themselves. Until now, there are still many houses from the 18th and 19th centuries in the fortress area. When Ron first saw it, he thought he was in a European-style street. How is the rent here? Not expensive, there are cheaper ones. I promise to find the most suitable price. Anand shook his head happily. Okay, find a bigger place. We need to recruit more people. Okay. I have an acquaintance. I know who to find. Anand shouted, and he ran across the street without stopping. Ron wanted to call him. There were still some details that he hadn't finished. But thinking about the money he made recently, he just relaxed. He planned to go to Victoria Railway Station to take a look. Now it was Anand's cousin Vinod who was looking after it. After walking for 15 minutes, he saw the iconic spire of Victoria Railway Station. It would be good if he could find a suitable office in the fortress area. Ron thought so, and he had unknowingly arrived at the entrance of the railway station. Here he saw a familiar figure, Vijay. He is one of Anand's friends, and now he is also doing the tourism business with Ron. At this moment, he is standing at the intersection with an anxious look on his face. Vijay, who are you waiting for here? Is there a customer missing, Mr. Sir? Vijay turned around and saw him, and immediately ran over in a hurry. Hurry, there is trouble. What? Someone is here to cause trouble, and they look fierce. Who? You have to explain the matter to me clearly. Why are they here to cause trouble? Several people. I heard from Vinod that they used to be gangsters here, and they also do business with foreigners. Ron understood a little. Probably they were colleagues who came to visit. Yes, their business has been so prosperous recently. Money can move people's hearts. How can there not be people who are jealous? Chapter 30 Doctor. When Ron entered the train station hall, Many people had gathered at his company's reception desk. Vino was confronting a bald-headed man. Behind each of them stood a group of people, pointing at each other excitedly and swearing all kinds of ugly swear words. Such a scene attracted a lot of onlookers, and there were even a few foreigners. Ron quickly glanced around and didn't see Rajesh and his friends. It seemed that there were no patrolmen on duty in this area today. Maybe the other party had chosen this time specifically. Ron pulled Vijay over and whispered a few words in his ear, and the latter immediately ran out of the train station. In order to prevent the two sides from fighting, Ron walked forward quickly. His arrival made the scene quiet. Just by looking at his demeanor and clothes, you can tell that he is a person in charge. The bald man on the opposite side stopped chattering and glared at him fiercely with his eyes bulging. Ron, this guy is called Iqbal. He used to be in a gang, and now he leads a few people to cheat people in this area. He is a tough guy. Vino approached Ron and whispered to him about his identity and background. He was obviously an old Muslim. They didn't care about the Brahmin caste. They were more like mortal enemies. Are all the people behind him in the same group? Ron roughly estimated that there were more than a dozen people gathered around him. No, only the first few really listened to him. The others were bewitched. Iqbal must have said a lot of bad things about us. Ron vaguely understood something, so the rest are our colleagues, right? Vino gave him a positive look. The reception they set up here took away many people's jobs. Hey, are you there, boss? Iqbal interrupted the two people's whispering impatiently. I am the person in charge of this company. What? The group of people on the opposite side were confused. Ron was speaking in English, and they didn't understand it. However, the foreigners who were watching the fun became interested. I repeat, I am the head of this company. Why are you gathered here? This time Ron used Marathi. You hurt my people. Iqbal pulled out a thin man aggressively. The other party had dark skin and seemed to have a trace of panic in his eyes. When Iqbal pulled his collar, he subconsciously dodged backwards. However, he was like a straw, and Iqbal lifted him up with one hand. Tell me, did they hurt you? The short man nodded fearfully, and then turned around at Iqbal's instruction, revealing a scratch on his back. Ron looked at Vino beside him, who immediately shouted aggrievedly, I just pushed him lightly. That kind of force is impossible to hurt. It was you. Everyone saw it. Yes, we all saw it. The people behind Iqbal followed and made a noise. What happened? Ron didn't hear Vijay say this just now. That guy tried to grab the menu on our table. Ron, you said it's our secret. We can't let these people take it away. The two sides started arguing again, and Ron now roughly understood what was going on. This manual he made was probably regarded as a secret to attract customers by Iqbal and his gang. So he deliberately brought people to cause trouble, and took advantage of the chaos to instigate the short man to grab the things on the table, and somehow he got injured. Ron looked around, but there were no reliable witnesses. The management staff at the train station stood behind the crowd and watched the show, but forget it. Don't count on them. Ron retracted his gaze, then raised his right hand to attract everyone's attention. Quiet. The noisy crowd was like a ripple that was no longer able to continue, gradually stopped rising and falling, and finally slowly calmed down. What's your name? Ron walked to the thin man who was pushed to the middle as a witness. What do you want to do? Iqbal stretched out his hand to stop him. I'm a doctor. Ron glared at him fiercely, then turned to look at Vino. Bring me my first aid kit. Iqbal looked at him stupidly. His mind was a little confused. How could there be a doctor suddenly? Especially when Ron skillfully took out the rescue tools from the first aid kit, he was even more unsure. The crowd watching did not speak. Ron, with white skin and a red holy thread on his hand, looked like a Brahmin doctor. My name is Rajakanyu, the short man answered weakly, and he believed it. Ron's glaring eyes just now made Rajakanyu afraid from the bottom of his heart. He had experienced the majesty of the Brahmin master many times, and he instinctively answered honestly and did not dare to lie. I'm Ron, sir. Don't be nervous. I'll help you with your wound first. Ron slowed down his tone. Since he helped Johnny sew up his wound last time, Ron also prepared a first aid kit at the train station. There are all kinds of people here, so it's good to be more prepared. Look, today I'll use my skills. After getting the first aid kit, Ron skillfully counted the items, including iodine, gauze, tweezers, and paper tape. The crowd of onlookers all looked at Ron, their eyes widened, as if they had seen something extraordinary. Ron put on his gloves as if no one was around, and asked in a gentle voice, Can I see your wound? Of course, Mr. Sir. Rajucanu stuttered in reply. Ron asked him to turn around, and then carefully examined his wound. It was a scratch, but not deep. The blood on the outside was mostly caused by the rupture of capillaries. After cleaning and disinfecting the wound skillfully, Ron still had time to chat with him. "How did you get hurt?" "I hit the pillar behind me." Ron glanced at it. The pillar was a few meters away from his reception desk, and normal pushing and shoving would not stumble that far. "Do you usually take jobs at the train station?" "Yes, I run errands for people and deliver messages. I run very fast." I don't know if Ron's meticulous technique made him relax his vigilance. Rajucanu was no longer as nervous as before. "How much can you make a month?" About 200 rupees. "Your injury wasn't caused by Vinod, was it?" He couldn't push that far. Ron lowered his voice in his ear. Rajucanu's back muscles were tense, and he looked at Iqbal not far away with evasive eyes, full of fear. Ron smiled and said nothing. He applied topical medicine to him as usual, and then carefully taped it with gauze. "Doctor, he is really a doctor," there was a whisper around. Fixing the gauze with paper tape, Ron patted his shoulder. "Does it hurt?" "No, doctor, don't let the wound get wet when you go back. I'll give you some medicine. Apply it once a day, and you'll be fine in 3 days." The moment he stood up, Ron whispered, "Come to my place. The minimum monthly salary is 500 rupees, and there will be commissions if you do more work, just like Vinod and the others." He said this very softly, and only Rajucanu, who was half a step away, could hear it. Ron put away the first aid kit, and the people around him kept staring at him. The look in their eyes was very complicated, with gratitude, shock, and jubilation. Ron couldn't understand why the emotions of the audience seemed to be stronger than those of Rajucanu. They didn't applaud, but even the foreigners watching could feel the sense of recognition. A Brahmin doctor was willing to treat them? This kind of shock was unimaginable to outsiders. Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, Iqbal immediately wanted to step forward. Suddenly, the thin Rajucanu stood up with his hands and feet tied. "It was Iqbal. I was thrown onto the pillar by Iqbal." His voice was not loud, but it attracted everyone's attention. "Asshole. What did you say?" Iqbal was about to rush over. The crowd was boiling. Chapter 31 Group Fight. Iqbal was shocked and angry when Rajucanu suddenly turned against him. He rushed over to teach him a lesson. However, someone blocked his way. It was not Ron or Vinod, but the crowd around him. They pulled and pushed him, not letting him take a step forward. "Asshole. How dare you block me?" Iqbal wanted to punch him angrily, but he stumbled. Several people around him were about to come up to help, but they were also blocked. The scene was a bit chaotic for a while, and Iqbal pointed at Rajucanu and shouted, "Don't forget who you belong to." His eyes were full of threats. "Who he belongs to is not up to you." "Rajucanu, keep talking." Ron stood in the middle and blocked his sight. Rajucanu's words just now had aroused everyone's curiosity. There seemed to be another inside story in this conflict, and they wanted to hear the full story. Of course, everyone was happy to help this kind-hearted Brahmin doctor. His kindness encouraged the people present, so they held down Iqbal and others, making them unable to move. Vinod and his men also reacted and no longer regarded Rajucanu as an enemy, but stepped forward and blocked him behind them. Ron turned his head and gave Rajucanu a reassuring look. The latter still had fear in his eyes, but he still spoke. "Iqbal ordered me to do it. He asked me to take advantage of the chaos to steal things from Vinod's table." "Nonsense." Iqbal struggled, but it was useless. "Go on." Ron motioned for everyone present to be quiet. Rajucanu, who had already risked everything, simply vomited out everything in his stomach like a bamboo tube pouring beans. Iqbal said that you have robbed everyone's business. If you are not driven away, you will starve in the future and will eventually have to become a sidewalk resident. Then let you use the reason of injury to arouse public outrage and drive us away. Ron asked. "No, it's not. Iqbal told me at the beginning that your secrets are all in the manual. If we can get that, we can also attract customers." "Then how did you get injured?" Ron persuaded. "Vinod pushed me, and when I didn't stand firmly, Iqbal threw me against the pillar." Rajucanu's words shocked the onlookers. It turned out that this was really Iqbal self-directed and self-acted. "So Iqbal deceived you? He just wanted to use your injury to persuade everyone to drive us away." Facing Ron's inquiring eyes, Rajucanu lowered his head with a gloomy expression. "What can he do? He is just a dullet who can be bullied by everyone." Facing a gangster like Iqbal, even if he knows that he is being used, he can only hold his nose and go all the way. Being thrown out like a rag and having a cut on his back, Rajakanyu didn't even think about going to Iqbal to argue. He just hoped that the other party would give him a tip of several tens of rupees because he was still useful. Until Ron appeared. It's very clear, Ron looked around, we are operating legally, but, before he could finish his words, Iqbal suddenly attacked. He kicked the people around him away, ready to catch the thief first. Ron couldn't be allowed to continue talking. Once this matter was concluded, he would not be able to survive in this area in the future, and no one would want to be with him. With just one punch, he could shut up this Brahmin. Bang! Iqbal flew out. The train station was silent. Such a big man, 90 kilograms, flew out like a rag. It was Johnny. The bull shook his feet, as if to relieve the numbness in his legs. You came at the right time, Ron smiled. This guy is a bad seed, Johnny spit disdainfully. Iqbal, who fell to the ground over there, wanted to stand up dizzy. But I don't know who took the lead, someone went up and kicked him again. The situation got out of control, and the onlookers responded one after another. Some people slapped his mouth, some poked his eyes, and the most were pairs of big footprints. They were so angry that they grabbed Iqbal and slapped him. The latter had a strong body but was completely unable to move. Ron was stunned. He could guarantee that he did not promise these people a basic salary of 500 rupees. Johnny was also a little surprised, but he would not refuse someone to do it for him. At this time, Anand, who came out of nowhere, also squeezed in front of Ron, panting. When he saw this scene, he rushed up and punched and kicked Iqbal without saying a word. Scum. Scum who bullies the poor. After everyone vented their anger, Johnny picked up the dusty Iqbal. Without saying a word, he slapped him more than a dozen times, left and right. Boy, don't you see who you are picking on? At this time, Iqbal finally saw who was in front of him. He screamed in fear, but did not dare to resist, but just kept begging for mercy. I've taken the man away. No one will come to cause trouble in the future. Johnny dragged Iqbal away by one of his legs. None of the hooligans who had been around him before dared to stop him. Only after Johnny and his men left did the familiar patrolman come hurriedly. His collar was half open, and there was lipstick on his neck, as if he had just withdrawn from a battlefield. He ran over in a hurry to apologize, and then without waiting for Ron's response, he grabbed a stick and chased after Iqbal's surviving men to beat them. Untouchables. You untouchables, the patrolman's stick was much more fierce than Anand's fists and feet. Ron's eyelids twitched when he heard the slapping sound. Damn, it was too fierce, hitting the fort all the time. Those hooligans ran away with their heads in their hands, not even daring to fight back. They often dealt with the police and knew that they should never confront the police at any time. If they get beaten now, the worst thing that can happen is that they will be imprisoned for a few days afterwards. But if they dare to fight back, they will die in jail. The crowds gathered here also started to make a fuss. They seemed to be not satisfied yet and helped the police to chase and intercept. Ron was watching the show from beginning to end. He was a little confused. Why are they so excited? Ron asked Anand beside him quietly. You are a good man, Ron. Iqbal is not only bad, he also bullies the poor and betrays his own group. That's it. Indians are most loyal and righteous. This is a place that values loyalty and righteousness. Ron didn't quite understand. He hadn't figured out the logic. The crusade over there was coming to an end. The bruised and swollen gangsters were tied up with cable ties by the patrolman. Several people's clothes were torn, and some had several clear shoe prints on their foreheads. Seeing these people in such a mess, the crowd cheered and laughed. The evildoers were punished. There is nothing more satisfying than this. Ron, you have won everyone's respect. A Brahmin doctor is willing to treat the untouchables with his own hands. You will never know how shocking this is. From Anand's eyes, Ron thought of a terrible thing. He suspected that today, no matter whether Iqbal and his men had a just reason or not, they would be beaten. It was because he stood against a Brahmin doctor who was willing to treat elites, that was all. Ron didn't know whether this was a victory for casteism or a victory for justice. Iqbal's gang was caught in one fell swoop, and the noisy crowd gradually dispersed. Only the nervous Rajakanyu and a few figures hiding behind were left. Rajakanyu. Ron waved at the thin figure. Mr. So Rajakanyu approached cautiously. Are you familiar with the roads in Mumbai? I know every dark alley here, the back door of every hotel, and the shortcut to every slum. Okay, you will work in my company in the future. Do you know the rules? Yes. Every guide in the train station knows, this kind of fast-running live map is exactly what Ron needs. As the Mumbai Tourism Information Company expands in scale, in the absence of telephones, such people are needed to pass on information. Rajakanyu was so happy that he wanted to squat down and touch Ron's feet and ask for his blessing. But after a little hesitation, he finally touched the ground at the tip of Ron's shoe and retreated. No matter what, it was a great joy to be noticed by the Mumbai Tourism Information Company. Who among these colleagues in the train station doesn't know the Mumbai Tourism Reception Office? The guests that they couldn't attract with all their efforts were sent to them on their own initiative. Everyone was puzzled, but also very envious, because only with guests can there be income. Ron looked at those who didn't run away and hesitated to come over. He knew it was time. Chapter 32, Hell Joke. Rajakanyu, go and call them over. Who? Rajakanyu, who was still immersed in joy, asked blankly. Ron raised his chin towards the distance. The 7 or 8 people were all Iqbal's gang at first. They stood relatively far back, like small minions who were put together temporarily to show their strength. Now that Iqbal has been taken away, the crowd who had vented their anger have dispersed, but they stayed. Ron knew that they had ideas. Sure enough, Rajakanyu went over and said a few words, and the group of people stood in front of him honestly. You also make money from foreigners. Several people looked at each other timidly and agreed to this statement. How much can you make in a month? Sometimes 300 rupees, sometimes 500 rupees, someone answered boldly. How long do you work every day? All day? When there is less work, I will stay up until midnight. At that time, the passengers on the train entering the station will not be robbed. Do you know my company? Yes, everyone answered loudly. Are you willing to come? Yes, the crowds who had dispersed before all looked at each other in unison. Okay, Anand. I'll leave them to you. Memorize our rules within 3 days, no problem, Ron. Anand's round head shook quickly. Oh, by the way, Ron, who is about to turn around, looked at the group again, spread the news for me. Mumbai Tourism Information Company is recruiting. As long as they can abide by the rules and speak some English, we want them. This news made them excited again. They couldn't help themselves. Their colleagues who made a living in this area knew how Ron's company treated them. Since the rupee depreciated and prices rose, the minimum monthly salary for working under Ron has risen to 500 rupees, and there is also a commission. The most important thing is that they don't lack customers. If they have customers, why worry about not getting a commission? Now that they heard that Ron was going to recruit more people, these people first thought of their relatives and friends. Who doesn't have 6 or 7 brothers and sisters in their family? They all live in slums, and the poorer they are, the more they want to have children. Ignoring their excited chatter, Ron still had things to do. Today's farce dealt with the main culprit and united the majority. The final outcome was peace and prosperity. But that was not enough. The patrolman actually deserted halfway. Did his previous bribes go in vain? And there was also the train station. So master him, Ron looked up and saw Rajakanyu. He stood a few steps away, wanting to go forward but having many concerns. What's the matter? No. I just want to thank you very much. My wife will give birth to her next month. Really? Congratulations, Ron smiled. She has always wanted to move into the slums, but I haven't saved enough money. Now you have given me a job. I think I can fulfill her wish before the baby is born next month. Ron was stunned. Where do you live now? On the road. We have a plastic sheet, so it won't get wet in the rain. Rajakanyu smiled freely, without any shame or embarrassment. Ron gradually became dazed in such a smile. He never knew that he had to save money to move to the slums, and he didn't know that some people have always lived on the road. Nodding, Ron wanted to say something to congratulate, but he couldn't. Congratulations on moving into the slums? This joke was too hellish. So sir, my wife will never believe that a Brahmin doctor bandaged my wound personally. This is a miracle, glory to Lord Shiva. Ron didn't say anything, he waved his hand with complicated thoughts. In India, he didn't mind being an outlaw. But facing the poorest people, he couldn't do evil openly. Ron, today's matter is very troublesome. Delufu, the administrative officer of Victoria Railway Station, was very dissatisfied with what happened today. Someone is provoking trouble. You can see that we have always been very disciplined. No, this time we almost got into a fight. We will be complained about. Delufu kept shaking his head. There will be no such thing in the future, I promise. Ron sneered at the complaint he mentioned. Ordinary Indians can't even recognize Arabic numerals, let alone complain. No, you have to move out. There are foreigners here, they saw everything, I'll talk to Chief to say. Ron didn't waste any words and stuffed 500 rupees into Darif's pocket. The fat-headed, big-bellied administrative official immediately shut up. He glanced at the train station hall, and then walked away leisurely in front of the foreigners. This fat guy looks like a pig, but he's smarter than a monkey, Ron spat fiercely in his hometown dialect. Ron, what are you talking about? At some point, Anand and Vinod had walked behind him. Nothing. After satisfying his desire to speak in Chinese, Ron regained his composure. Clean up the scene and don't affect the next business, leave it to us, no problem, Anand patted his chest and promised. Now they have more than 20 people under their command, and the small office can be restored to its original state in a few seconds. Not only that, the foreigners who were watching the excitement just now have learned from others what happened here. They admire Ron's chivalry, and such a company sounds reassuring. As soon as the table was set, several foreigners came over to learn about their services. Look, it's the same as before, Anand was very satisfied with the scene in front of him. The place is still not big enough. What? I want to talk to the railway station and give us a bigger place. Ron, our location is already very good. No one competes with us. We don't need to bribe those corrupt officials. No, Ron shook his head, it's not enough. I want to rent a piece of land here and then decorate it according to the scale of an office. Wait, I don't understand. Anand was already confused. Have you seen the duty-free shop at the airport? It's like that, a high-end, formal company facade. By the way, I will also open a company at the airport in the future. Ron became more and more excited. Not only did he want to decorate an office, he also wanted to recruit a few receptionists who were fluent in English. Now it was too makeshift. He insisted a little longer and he was ready to implement this plan immediately. Wow, I heard an incredible plan, a crisp voice came from behind. Ron, who was in high spirits, turned around subconsciously. Mary? Lena, hey, man. It's been such a short time since we last met, and you're ready to make a big move. Are you going to make a fortune? The people who came were his repeat customers, Mary and Lena, with whom he had worked once before. The sisters wore sunglasses and short sports vests, and their curvy figures looked very heroic. Ron subconsciously glanced behind them, and sure enough, there were two bulging backpacks. Mr. Knight. Can you take us to the unofficial duty-free zone when you have time? I guarantee there will be good stuff this time. Ron, remember our office in the fortress area? I have an appointment with the landlord. Anand came over stealthily, but I can postpone it a little, but you have to take care of yourself. They look very capable, just the swaying dolly, he was so powerful. Ron rolled his eyes at him, then turned to Mary and the others. You are most welcome, but before that, you two beautiful girls may as well enjoy the freedom of Mumbai. In 2 days, I will personally serve as your guide. Okay, we are happy to enjoy your service. Tisk, too coquettish. The eyes of the Indian men in the train station are almost popping out. Oh, Ron is just too busy. He really hasn't enjoyed the treatment of this Indian master. P.S. Just a few words, the author hopes to write a story that includes all aspects of Indian society. The caste issue will also be written later. It's just that the story has just begun. I hope the book friends will be more patient. Thank you. Chapter 33, Our Great India has its own national conditions. Of course, Ron wanted to live out his life as a master, but it didn't work. His hometown was in Uttar Pradesh, and he was a poor Brahmin in the countryside. It was no problem for him to show off his power there. But when he arrived in Mumbai, he was alone and no one cared about him. If he wanted to be a real master, he had to make himself stand up first. Ron is working hard for this now, but there are so many things to do. The first is to expand the staff, and many work processes need to be sorted out. This is the foundation of the company's operation, and he has to ask about it personally. Anand, how many people do we have now? 35. We can form 3 cricket teams. Anand, holding the list, had a sense of accomplishment on his face. Those who have a bad reputation will be eliminated directly, and try to pick those who can speak English and are smart. No problem, they can't escape my eyes. I even know the color of their loincloths. Anand personally checked this matter. He has been here for many years and knows more gossip than anyone else. By the way, I need 2 young people with good looks and fluent English. Do you know where to find such people? Well, The children of some of our people may be able to do it, but it's better to directly place an ad in the newspaper, put it in a newspaper. Yes, there are so many newspapers in Mumbai that I can't even count them. People who can read in India like to read newspapers. Ron pinched his chin. This is a good idea. And it's just to place it in an English newspaper, so that even the English test is exempted. I will go to the newspaper office soon, don't worry, Ron, I will take good care of this place. There are a lot of people coming and going in Victoria railway station. It is already June, but the number of foreign tourists has not decreased at all. One of the dividends of the depreciation of the rupee is becoming more prominent, and international tourists are rushing to India to spend money. This is undoubtedly good news for Ron and his team, and it also strengthens his idea of opening a store here. This is also the purpose of his coming here today. He has made an appointment with the senior administrative officials of the railway station. Wait, Ron. When he was about to leave, Anand grabbed his arm stealthily. What's wrong? Those two foreign women. His eyes gradually became obscene. What do you want to say? I want to ask if the one you are with is special. I have never dated foreign girls, I am just curious. Ron slapped his paw away with disdain. I have been busy with company matters these 2 days, how can I have time to see them? In order to prevent Iqbal's incident from happening again, Ron went directly to Rajesh's superior police officer yesterday. That is, the chief of the police station in the fort area. He did not say a word when the two sides met, and immediately threw 50,000 rupees in cash. The other party stared at the bundles of rupees, as if he saw an Indian woman without a sari, and even his speech became stuttering. What does 50,000 rupees mean? The senior judge of the Supreme Court of New Delhi, India, earns less than 20,000 rupees a month. How could he, a small district police chief, see so much money? He has not confiscated bribes, but they are not on the same order of magnitude. So Ron didn't need to say it clearly. The other party slapped the patrolman who was on duty at the railway station that day on the spot. What happened next was a natural outcome. In the future, there will be at least 2 patrolmen on duty at Victoria railway station, and no one will cause trouble. If there were, the patrolman's stick would be faster than Ron and his men. In India, you can't get anything done without money, and today is no exception. After entering Desai's office, Ron put the suitcase in his hand down at his feet. The other party glanced at him thoughtfully, then picked up a few documents on the table and looked at them. Mr. Sir, do you want to renovate an office at Victoria Station? Yes, I found a lot of unused storage rooms opposite the platform, and I want to rent one of them, but this is against the rules. Those were the old manual service windows, they are no longer used now, are they? No, this won't work. Desai shook his head quickly. Okay, I can pay some fines for this. This is the code for bribing officials in India, and Ron is already familiar with it. Desai closed his mouth and didn't say anything. He glanced down slightly. Ron stood up and took the suitcase from his feet to the table, then unzipped it and turned it over, shaking it out directly with the bottom facing up. Bundles of 100 rupee cash rolled down. There were so many that some rolled to the edge of the desk and were about to fall to the ground. Desai was scrambling to catch them. He was clumsy and put out fires everywhere, with his elbows full of scattered rupees. Ron smiled. 100,000, I can choose any place. After the completion, I will pay another 20,000 rupees in rent every month. Don't write the rent into the formal contract. Deal. After a few stamps, Ron got the license. The 20,000 monthly rent he promised became 1,000 rupees in the contract. Everyone knew where the remaining 19,000 rupees went. This is the national situation in India, and no one would be surprised by this. Even in Maharashtra, many people, including civilians, worship corrupt officials. They think that if you don't think of ways to make money, you are a complete fool. For this reason, the locals have a special name for those honest officials, Panwanger. Its original meaning is a kind-hearted and morally noble person, but it also means naive and easily deceived. Correspondingly, those who know how to bribe are called buddhi, which means cunning, but also implies maturity and no longer naive. The contrast between the meanings of these two words is really interesting. No wonder the female head of Gandhi sighed, "This is India, what can you do with it?" With a license, Ron left the office contentedly. In the past 2 days, he has spent more than 100,000 rupees, all of which were black money. Why can the scale of the black market in India account for half of the legal economy? Corruption is also one of the driving forces behind the scenes. When Ron got outside, he was ready to choose the place he liked, But after walking a few steps, he found that Anand seemed a little unhappy. This is a rare thing. Ron has never seen Anand's face without a smile. What's wrong? A foreign bastard ruin our business. Who? Look, the one over there. Following his gaze, Ron saw a white man in his 40s with 2 strands of sea lion beard. He wore a western cowboy hat, and from the appearance alone, he looked like a Harley motorcycle rider. This guy made no secret of his disgust for Indians. He dismissed every vendor who tried to approach him with contempt. At the same time, he kept telling people around him about the various unsuccessful attempts by Indians to cheat him along the way. Do you know why their cars are called Tata? Because they make a ta-ta-ta sound when they drive. Whenever he caused laughter, he proudly shared his bargaining experience. In his eyes, all Indians, including Anand who just solicited customers, were hateful liars. This kind of tourists were the thorns of foreigners. Their travel was a game of the meaner, the more successful. Ron didn't have any special impression of him, but he was affecting his business now. Did you find anything when you talked to him just now? He likes to swear and has a bad temper. He doesn't look like a good person. Oh, by the way, he smells like hemp. Are you sure? Ron's eyes lit up. 100%. I've smoked hookah before. It's very exciting. Ron waved his hand and then looked around. Oh, Rajesh and his team are on duty today. What a coincidence. Chapter 34. What is a black police? Go and call Rajesh over. What? Anand's round face was a little surprised. Ron, Indian police are generally unwilling to intervene in foreigners' affairs. Now they are willing, Ron said in a relaxed tone. Then I'll try. Anand walked towards Rajesh and his friends with doubt. Under the instruction of the police chief, the number of patrolmen on duty at Victoria Railway Station has changed from 1 to 2 or 3 people. Anand went over there and explained the general idea. Rajesh and his friends immediately came over here excitedly with sticks. On the other side, the Harley rider was still showing off his bargaining experience. No matter who in the crowd quoted their previous room price, he would solemnly tell them that you have been fooled by the Indians again. Then he would quote a very low room price, and when he saw someone showing a surprised look, he would proudly describe in detail how he got the room by threatening and intimidating. Ron, Anand said you have trouble here. Rajesh came over with his people. See that? Ron raised his chin towards the distance. The guy in the hat? What did he do? I hate that face. He's standing there and affecting my business. The most important thing is that he has hemp on him. Are you sure? Rajesh narrowed his eyes. Anand can't smell it wrong. Yes, sir, I'm experienced. I know where there is a whole warehouse of this kind of hemp. Rajesh shook his head, winked at the 2 companions beside him, and then the 3 of them walked over tacitly. The Harley rider was still talking, until the people around him showed a fearful look and gradually dispersed. He realized that something was wrong. Hey, man. I'm an American from Texas. What do you want to do? Rajesh ignored the other party's aggressiveness. He circled around and sniffed carefully, then waved his hand. We suspect you are carrying prohibited items. Please come back with us for inspection now. God? This is a misunderstanding. I have an American passport. I want to contact the embassy. The Harley rider finally panicked. He knew that he was not clean, and he subconsciously shouted. But it was useless. Rajesh and his men took him to an empty pillar in front of the foreigners and asked him to turn around and stand against the wall. Then one of the patrolmen quickly stuffed a bag of powder into his butt pocket, and the speed of the method was comparable to that of accepting bribes. This was done to prevent the dosage from not meeting the standard for arrest. After adding some private goods, it would be foolproof. Needless to say, the cowboy's personal belongings would be cleared out, which were the spoils of Rajesh and his men. Then this unlucky white man might be imprisoned for a few days. If he wanted to be released on bail, he would need to spend a lot of money to please the Indian police. If he was unlucky, it might take more than half a year for him to be deported. Rajesh and his men were already quite familiar with this set of procedures, and Ron was not surprised by it. The logic of this country should not be speculated by common sense. After driving away the annoying flies, Ron walked over to comfort the frightened international friends at the right time. With his handsome appearance, unaccented English, and professional travel advice, Ron quickly won their trust. Alice, the burden of U.S.-India friendship fell on him. Ron finally chose an unused storage room just opposite the platform as the reception office for the Mumbai Travel Information Company at Victoria Station. This is the largest room, covering more than 90 square meters. According to his estimation, It would not be a problem to open 2 or 3 meeting rooms. Ron hired a construction company for the decoration, and they are responsible for the design and construction. It is expected to be completed in 1 month. The place is ready, and as long as the money is in place, it can be done quickly without major changes. Anand will be responsible for supervision. Ron finally found some time, and he wanted to fulfill his promise to Mary and the others. I'm not asking about your privacy, ladies, but it's best not to do this kind of work often. You know, India is not as safe as you think. Mary and Lena smiled at each other. We have to find a way to make money. We can't live without money, and the same is true in India. This business is not suitable for you, thank you, Ron, but we have found other ways to make money. This is the last order. Ron shrugged his shoulders. He didn't ask them why they didn't go back to their own country. All foreigners who come to Mumbai for a long time must find it inconvenient to go back. There are different stories here. After hailing a taxi, the 3 of them drove along Rock Canyon Road to Joel Market. It was noon and there was a constant flow of traffic on the road. Many Indian men were running on the road pushing lunch carts, which made the road more congested. These people's wooden carts had at least 6 lunches. They pushed the lunch carts in the lanes where buses, trucks, motorcycles, and cars were coming and going. Then the lunch was delivered to offices and stores all over Mumbai on time. This is how the lunch of millions of people in the city was solved. It is a unique food delivery service in India, not takeout. Instead, after a family prepares the food, they hire someone to deliver it to another family member who is at work. Oh my God, this is too dangerous. Mary and her friends saw the thrilling scenes outside the car window and couldn't help but worry. They pay a few cents for a delivery, which is about 1.7 rupees, a few cents? Ron, are you sure it's not a few dollars? Hey, this is India, not New York. I suddenly feel that our business is not so dangerous, at least it is safer than theirs, Mary teased optimistically. Ron wanted to turn around and say something, but his face suddenly changed. Be careful, he shouted to let the taxi driver be careful, only to see the other party make a sharp turn in time to avoid a bullock cart. The driver was a sturdy man with dark skin and a rough short beard on his lips. Ron's shouting seemed to annoy him. He yelled in Hindi angrily, but the accelerator under his feet did not stop. He drove like a criminal fleeing from pursuit, swerving left and right along the way, speeding past other slower cars. This guy is a lunatic. Ron wondered if he had just taken drugs. Mary and Lena in the back seat also opened their eyes wide in fear, which was not as exciting as the movies. Stop, Ron decided to get out of the car. The driver was even more angry now. He turned his head as the car sped away, wanting to curse. But Mary and the others screamed and pointed forward, and it was too late. There was a squeal of brakes, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, bang. There were rumbling and cracking sounds. The taxi hit a car in front that was about to turn, and Ron and his friends leaned forward violently, and then 2 more cars rear-ended it from behind. Glass fragments and chrome-plated decorative debris were scattered on the road. Ron shook his head to clear the tinnitus. Mary, Lena, are you okay? No, we're fine. Fortunately, the driver didn't have time to turn the steering wheel, so they crashed straight into the car, and Ron's half of the car remained intact. Oh my God, Ron, this damn driver won't get a tip. Mary was very angry. Don't worry about the tip. Suddenly Ron thought of what Anand had told him. Quick. Get out. Get out. Now, what? Mary and the others were confused about the situation and hadn't come to their senses yet. If we don't leave now, we'll die here. Ron kicked open the passenger door. In India, this situation would lead to terrible consequences. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 The Kingdom of God on Earth. Ron kicked open the car door and got out first, while Mary and the others in the back seat were still trembling as they unbuckled their seat belts. Quick! We have to get out of here. Ron pulled Mary out from his side. But the door on Lena's side was stuck. She tried to push it open with her shoulder, but it didn't work. Ron looked up and saw that the door on her side was blocked by another car. He could only get her out from this side, but the middle parking space was filled with 2 bulging backpacks. Come and help, Ron yelled at Mary, and the 2 began to try their best to tear open the backpacks in the middle. Lena was not that scared at first, but when she saw Ron's nervous look, a trace of fear suddenly appeared in her eyes. Why was he so nervous? Was the car about to explode? This is often played out in movies. Moreover, Lena and the others had taken taxis in Mumbai several times. The rear window could only be opened a few centimeters, and now the door was stuck again. If the car caught fire and exploded, she would be burned to death. Ron. Mary. Save me. Lena banged on the door again with tears in her eyes, but it was no use. The situation was urgent. Ron took out the knife from his pocket and cut the shoulder strap of his backpack randomly. Something spilled out, but he could not care less. Quick. This way. Lena. He laid the front seat flat and tried to make some space. Lena grabbed his arm from behind as if to save his life, and Ron pulled her out with force. At this time, several faces appeared outside the car window, and Ron heard some excited voices. He knew it was too late. Ron, driver, although Mary hated this madman, she still wanted to help. Ron looked at the driver's seat. The driver was slumped between the steering wheel and the door, motionless, but groaning. Under the thin shirt, his back, like an abacus bead, rose and fell with his slow and weak breathing. Hurry up, it's too late. Ron pulled Mary and Lena in one hand and got into the wall of people surrounding them. They bumped around until they squeezed out and sat under a hawthorn tree on the nearby sidewalk to check each other's injuries. Ron had a scratch on the corner of his eyebrow, but it was not serious. Apart from that, he had a few sore spots on his body. Mary had a cut under her ribs, and Lena's arm seemed to be bruised and swollen. God, I thought the car was going to explode. But it's fine now, Ron. Lena sat on the ground, her chest rising and falling sharply. Fine. Ron turned his head to look at her. You just ran away from the car in such a panic that I was really scared to death. I thought it would catch fire, but it seems to be fine now. Oh, Ron turned his head and stared at the front. Do you think I'm worried about the car catching fire? No, I'm worried about the crowd getting angry. Look at how those people are now. The three stood up and endured the pain in their bodies, looking at the accident scene 10 meters away. In the distance, dozens of people had surrounded the four cars that had crashed into a wall, and some of them were trying to pull the drivers and passengers out of the damaged vehicles. Others gathered in groups, gesticulating and shouting. More people came from all directions. Because of the accident, other car drivers and passengers who were stuck in the back also joined in. The number of people increased until there were more than 100 people. Then one of them became the focus. The taxi driver that Ron and his friends were riding in. Because of his recklessness, a woman in the car in front was seriously injured and was covered with a white sheet and carried away on the spot. A man who looked like her husband rushed towards Ron and his friend's taxi and opened the door. The crowd reacted in unison. They immediately dragged the injured and unconscious taxi driver out of the car and threw him on the hood. The driver raised his hands and begged for mercy with a weak breath, but dozens of hands rose and fell on him, pulling and hiding him. His face, chest, and abdomen were hit by fists, and nails left scratches on his body, tearing the corner of his mouth, and the crack almost reached his ear. This happened in an instant, and Mary and Lena looked horrified. Oh my God, we have to do something, enough people are already doing it, you too. Ron waved his hands weakly. No, I mean, can't we save him? Ron rolled his eyes at them. You can see, getting into a car accident in Mumbai is a terrible thing. We need to get out of there as soon as possible, otherwise we will be lying on the hood now. The crowd beat him up quickly and fiercely. The driver's clothes had been stripped off and blood was all over his body. Then, at a certain command, he was lifted high above his head and carried away. With his legs together and his arms open, he looked like he was fixed on a cross and disappeared in the angry crowd. Such a scene shocked Mary and the others greatly. They didn't understand. Why would a driver be publicly executed for a car accident? What about the police? Not to mention them, even Ron couldn't figure it out. This was just like the last time the crowd beat Iqbal at the train station. No one could understand the Indians' brain circuits. In this country, all kinds of fantastic things can happen. It can be called the kingdom of God on earth. Okay, now we should go and treat the wound. Ron retracted his gaze. Can we go to the hospital? Why are you all afraid of hospitals? Just like you're afraid of the police station. We can handle this injury. Let me do it. Ron sighed. Didn't I tell you that I'm a doctor? Ron boasted without blushing. An hour later, the three returned to the hotel, and Ron took his first aid kit with him. At this time, Lena's arm was already bandaged, but fortunately it was not broken, and it should recover after a while. Mary's wound under the ribs. Well, she lifted up her clothes, and a big thunder swung around, making Ron uneasy. Hey, I feel your hand is shaking, Mary giggled and teased him. I'm a normal man, and can you hold it? It affects my vision. Don't you have another hand? Do you need me to teach you? This bitch is horny, Lena complained on the side. Who is it that wanted to take off his shirt even though his arm was injured? Huh? Don't say you didn't want to, bitch, you wanted to eat him alive. Hey, Ron raised his hand to signal them to stop. Let's talk business. What are you going to do next? Mary and Lena were silent. Because of the car accident just now, their backpacks were left on the taxi. Although they managed to salvage a little, the loss was undoubtedly huge. This is Mumbai. Things will disappear within 30 seconds of leaving sight. It is almost impossible to go back and find them, and Mary and Lena are not stupid enough to have such hope. Lighting a cigarette with her intact arm, Lena said indifferently, we will find a way. We have some friends in Mumbai. Yes, at worst, we can go to Bollywood to be an extra. I think they need white actresses there. Mary was also optimistic about what would happen next. Why don't you come to my place to help first? Ron asked. You? The two looked surprised. Receptionist, how are you? My company is hiring. You've seen it before. It's right at the train station. Hey, do you want us two top Bollywood stars to be your punching bags, temporarily, at least until you recover from your injuries? I don't think Bollywood will arrange jobs for injured female stars. Mary and Lena looked at each other and said, for the sake of your responsible guide, yes, for the sake of our friendship. Chapter 36, Profiteer. After bandaging Mary and Lena's wounds, Ron finally decided to help them get rid of the remaining goods. This was the last bit of stuff they had saved when they left the taxi. Ron knew without a second thought that the two of them needed the money now. But before doing this, he needed to make a phone call. You don't want to call that profiteer from last time to the hotel to trade, do you? Mary blew out a smoke ring. No, according to the rules, we won't do this kind of work in the hotel. I want to call a friend of mine and let him notify another friend. What? Mary and the others were confused. His name is Anand, and he has a cousin named Adi who works as a dishwasher in a restaurant. Adi has always wanted to find a job driving a taxi. I have to tell him the number and boss name of the driver who was carried away. That guy's boss needs a new driver. With such a good opportunity, we have to hurry, don't we? Oh, God, this guy is also a profiteer. Mary made a helpless gesture to Lena. I can see it. I can see it from the way he refused to play poker with us. This guy wants to win our hearts. What a greedy guy. Ron didn't have time to chat with him. This was a mutually beneficial thing. His company needed reliable taxi drivers to take foreign tourists at the railway station to designated hotels, without cheating tourists or cheating money. In return, Ron would provide them with a stable source of customers and ensure that their taxis would not stop for a moment and would not have time to rest. Familiar taxi drivers were of course the first choice, which was why Ron was willing to help. After doing all this, he took the cameras and went to the jewel market to find Vikrant to exchange money. Mary and the others were very smart. These things all came from outside Mumbai, and even if someone wanted to check, they would not be able to find anything. In the next few days, Ron changed the medicine for the two several times, and the rest of the time he devoted himself to the decoration of the railway station. His company officially opened in April, and it has been 3 months since the end of June. Thanks to the depreciation of the rupee, Ron's business has continued, and the profit is higher every month. In 3 months, he earned 2.6 million rupees. In addition to the 1.2 million he made from foreign exchange speculation in the first month, the average profit in the next 2 months was 700,000 rupees. However, he spent a lot of money. He spent 150,000 rupees on bribing officials and policemen, and then he kept giving gifts every month. Including those low-level patrolmen and civil servants at the railway station, Ron took care of them from top to bottom. He had already spent 500,000 rupees on this part of expenses alone. Just kidding, if his company didn't make money, it would be fine. But as long as there is profit in the accounts, some of it must be distributed. Otherwise, how could he be safe and sound until today? Johnny can only deter gang members, but not corrupt officials. In a place like Mumbai where black and white are mixed, there is no profitable business that is not enviable. There is also the decoration of the railway station. Ron wants his office to look more upscale, at least to the level of the airport duty-free shop. 300,000 rupees is the approximate budget, which can ensure the quality and efficiency of the project. In order to prevent Assam from being lazy, Ron asked Anand and Vinod to take turns to keep an eye on him, and the 1-month construction period must be stuck. He knew too well what kind of character his third brother was. A dam can take decades to build, and this is still under the condition of continuous additional funds. If Ron dared to leave it alone, it is possible that the construction would not start in half a year. Facts have proved that this kind of high-intensity supervision is effective. Although the construction party has been complaining about this and that, the current progress is in line with expectations and it will be completed in another week. After all the trouble inside and outside, Ron's wealth has shrunk by more than 1/3, and there are still about 1.7 million rupees left in the 2 sets of accounts. By the way, there is also a formal office of the company in the fort area, and the location has been selected. Ron and Anand came here today to finalize the final contract with the landlord. The fort area is different from Colaba and Crawford. It is very quiet here. Cars and motorcycles have disappeared one after another, and the air has become clean and fresh, without the diesel and oil exhaust pollution that permeates other places. Instead, there is the smell of spices and perfumes. Children are reciting the Vedas in the yard, women are pounding spices at the door, the sound of stones hitting each other, and porters are shouting with goods on their heads. The sounds of people's mouths and hands could be heard everywhere, and the breath of industrial civilization seemed to disappear here. The Fortress District is a very special commercial district. Ron, do you know that? What? Ron wiped the sweat from his forehead. The July sun in Mumbai was so oppressive that it was hard to breathe. There are many printing shops, stationery stores, wholesale stores, and small manufacturers here, mainly supplying the needs of surrounding offices. So it is very quiet and has the smell of books. The British must have loved this place very much. Ron looked up and saw that both sides of the narrow street were old houses from the colonial period. Of course, this is where they live. There are also many companies like law firms and publishing houses that use brains, and the British need them. The two walked along the ancient street for a while before stopping in front of a Western-style house. It's here, look. Ron, you can work here in the future. Ron looked up. If he didn't know he was in Mumbai, he would have thought it was a house somewhere in old London. It was a complete Gothic style, with pointed rib vaults and flying buttresses, which looked heavy and beautiful. According to Anand, this was a law firm opened by the British. After independence, it changed hands several times and is now idle. The landlord is a middle-aged man with a very Western style, wearing a suit and tie, and he is also a Hindu. Ron happened to have both of these characteristics, and the two sides had a pleasant conversation. "Are you a vegetarian?" the landlord asked when the final decision was about to be made. "Hey, Master Sir is a Brahmin, and he is more enthusiastic about being a vegetarian," Anand chimed in. Because of his words, the landlord signed a lease contracts with Ron for this house at a 20% discount, and even saved the defensive clauses. India's rental law is quite a strange existence, but because Ron is a Brahmin, the landlord chose to believe him. The entire office rents 10,000 rupees per month, which is great value. This price is certainly not cheap at the current price level, but it is large enough, with 3 floors and more than a dozen rooms available. Because it was originally used as a law firm, the room layout is ready-made, and they can use it directly after painting the walls. Ron handed these chores to Anand, and he also wrote a list of office supplies that he would need in the future. Telephones, printers, fax machines, desks, and computers. Ron's current work requires this new type of office tools. After arranging all these, he returned to Victoria Station. The office next to the platform was about to be completed. But before he could inspect his territory, Mary found him. Now she and Lena are the most popular sisters in Ron's company. Blonde and blue-eyed foreign girls are receptionists, which is rare in Mumbai. With their white looks, foreign tourists flock to that station. Ron's calculations worked. In a foreign country, Westerners naturally attract Westerners. English is their mother tongue. Look, a match made in heaven. Although he has been complained by the two more than once as a profiteer who kidnaps ignorant girls. But Mary didn't come to him for this today. She was undecided about something else. "Are you talking about a Brazilian who is in trouble?" Ron asked with his arms crossed. "Yes, he heard of you, and came here specifically." "Heard of me? Come on, you are now a well-known figure to foreigners staying in Mumbai, really?" What do they say about me? Ron became interested. You are good at both black and white, so you will definitely be the one to go to if there is any trouble. It sounds a bit like you made it up, Ron commented. Okay, I did embellish it a little bit, but it is definitely not groundless. Let's get down to business. Is that Brazilian your friend? Why do you ask? Mary felt ashamed of being caught. If he is not a friend, you would like to stay away from all the troubles. Can you guess what others are thinking every time? He is a friend I met in Brazil. He helped me once, and I need to repay him. Talk about trouble. Ron did not comment. Visa. His visa has expired. But you know, if you want to stay in a regular hotel in Mumbai, this is one of the necessary procedures. What is he doing in Mumbai? I think it's probably business. Ron's eyes flickered slightly, and after a long while, he raised his chin. Bring him to see me. Chapter 37, All Villains. Mary finally arranged for her Brazilian friend Luca to meet Ron at Leopold's bar. There were several patrolmen at Victoria Station, and Mary was worried that meeting there would lead to a trap. Such worries were undoubtedly unnecessary, as she knew nothing about Ron's reputation in the police circle, but Ron still accepted such suggestions. Leopold's bar is one of the largest bars and restaurants in Colombo district, and one of the most famous in Mumbai. The lobby on the first floor of the bar is divided into several similar areas by several columns, and mirrors are attached to the columns and blank walls. Customers can secretly look at others or wink at their favorite targets without turning their heads in their seats. For many customers, it is very interesting to see their own images reflected in two or more mirrors at the same time. Over time, Leopold's bar has become a place for people to see others, be seen, and see themselves being seen. There are about 30 tables in the entire lobby, each with a tabletop made of Indian smoked pearl marble, with 4 to 6 cedar chairs. When Ron arrived, Mary, Lena, and a young man were already sitting together, talking and laughing. Hey, Ron, Mary and Lena waved to him at the same time. Am I late? Ron sat down between the two of them. We wanted to come here early to have a drink. You know, smiling at so many people every day, my face is almost stiff, Mary complained. Oh, this makes me sound like a ruthless capitalist. That's right. Sooner or later, we will lose a lot in your hands. Mary and Lena hugged his arms on the left and right and laughed. After the waiter served Ron a glass of beer, Mary remembered that she had something to do today. Ron, let me introduce you, this is Luca. Then she turned to the young man with thick black hair. This is Ron. I told you that foreigners in Mumbai go to him when they get into trouble. Hello. The two shook hands in a friendly manner. To be honest, my friend, you don't look like a Brazilian at all. Ron looked at him again. Luca was about 30 years old, with thick curly black hair that was level with his collar. He wore a denim shirt and loose canvas trousers. Have you ever dealt with Brazilians? Luca asked in surprise. I meet tourists from more than 10 countries every day, and I meet so many people that I can't even come here myself. But anyway, I rarely see Brazilians with high noses and blue eyes. Okay, Luca put down the wine glass in his hand. In terms of food, I'm French. In terms of appearance, I'm Italian. In terms of business, I'm Swiss. Very Swiss. Strictly neutral. Ron raised his eyebrows. Is the race becoming international now? Several people laughed, causing the people at the neighboring table to look at them from time to time. Brother, I was just about to say that you don't look like an Indian at all. Whether it's appearance or other aspects, you know, his every move is more like a Westerner than you. Yeah, this guy is very charming. Especially since he's a real Indian. This wonderful combination is very attractive to Mary and Lena. Okay, let's talk about you. Ron turned his glass towards him. Mary said there's a little trouble with your visa. Luca put away his smile and lowered his voice. It's expired. You know, Ron, this is very inconvenient in Mumbai. In Mumbai, every hotel that receives foreigners must take out a foreign guest registration form, on which the foreigner's name, passport code and visa validity date are filled in. This registration form is also called C form, and the police will come to check from time to time. Staying in the country after the visa has expired is a felony in India, with a maximum sentence of 2 years. And if the hotel owner dares to tamper with the information on the C form, once caught, he will be fined a huge amount by the police. So in Luca's current situation, if he doesn't have a reliable relationship, it will be difficult for him to find a safe place to live in Mumbai. There are private shops in corners, but few foreigners dare to stay there. Losing property is a small matter, but losing life is a big deal. How long has your visa expired? Ron asked. 3 months, I'm surprised you've survived until today. I'm lucky. I've been in rural areas before, and the police there don't care about these things. But Mumbai is different. I was almost questioned last night, but luckily I found a chance to get away. Usually, if a foreigner's visa has just expired, the Indian police will give a grace period to renew it even if they find it. But it's definitely not 3 months. Ron doesn't know if this is really because he's lucky. How long do you want to stay in Mumbai? I'll leave when I find business. This is not a safe idea. The longer you delay, the more likely you will be discovered. That's why I came to you, Ron. I've been to the backpacker base in Mumbai, and many people there have mentioned your name. Of course, I know the rules, and I will pay some compensation for this. When saying the word compensation, Luca specifically made an S gesture, meaning that he would pay in US dollars. What price are you going to offer? Let me make it clear first, it's not just my business to solve the visa problem, of course, but are we going to talk about it here? Luca looked around guiltily. There were many other guests in the bar hall. This was not the first time Ron had seen such an uneasy expression. They were not used to plotting in public, but this was India. Luca, it seems that you really need to get to know Mumbai again. Ron smiled and raised his chin. Did you see the Australian next to the fruit? The man with long blonde hair and the girl in red, they want to buy hemp. The man sitting opposite, with a big beard, is a broker. The two parties are negotiating the price now. Once the deal is done, the guy in the dirty shirt, barefoot, and holding a bamboo basket on the street outside will hand over the hemp to them. And the group of people in the corner wearing handsome western jeans and jackets, they specialize in passport business. Do you know passports? That takes longer than your visa. Luca was stunned. So this bar, relax, we only talk about business here, not transactions. What do you mean? After the price is agreed in the bar, they will walk out of the store. One hand hands over the money and the other hand hands over the goods, then walk back to the bar and sit back at the original table. Even if the officials accept bribes, it is the same. The two parties make a verbal agreement in the dark compartment upstairs, and then shake hands and hand over the money on the sidewalk outside before it is considered settled. This is the rule. No police will come here to cause trouble. Everyone has agreed to it. This is fucking cool. After searching his mind for a long time, Luca could only use this swear word to express his surprise and admiration. Now let's talk about your visa problem. How long do you expect to wait? This involves the difficulty of the hotel owner tampering with the C form, and of course it is related to the reward you need to pay. Luca stared at Ron and hesitated for a while, and finally took out a note from his waist bag. Visa is a small business. Are you interested in this? Ron took it and looked at it, raising his eyebrows. Chapter 38, Pharmaceutical Business. If I'm not mistaken, some of these are some special medicines. I knew you were an expert, Ron. It seems I found the right person. Luca's face was filled with smiles. Since he learned that everyone here was more evil than him, he felt inexplicably relaxed. So the business you are talking about is these medicines. Ron pinched his chin, his thoughts churning. Ron, there are many businesses in the world that can bring huge profits, such as arms, gold, and population. But they are too dangerous or require too much capital. Medicines are relatively safe and not so sensitive. At the same time, as long as you choose the right type, the capital required is not so exaggerated. There is no need to say much about the reputation of Indian pharmaceuticals, which are known as the world's pharmacy. The patented drugs of those old-fashioned pharmaceutical companies in Europe and the United States cost tens of thousands of dollars per box. But in India, the efficacy of generic drugs can reach 99.9% of the former, but the price is less than a few tens of theirs. This huge gap, as well as the legal favoritism of the Indian government, has attracted gold diggers from all over the world to the Indian pharmaceutical industry. I can get these drugs for you, but how are you going to ship them out? I mean customs and stuff. I'm going to bring them back myself. I'm not buying much this time, so it shouldn't be difficult to get through customs. So, is this your first time checking out the place? Ron's eyes lit up. Well, you can say that, but I'll definitely come back later if the effect is good. After all, it's a generic drug, and Luca needs to ensure its efficacy. The easiest way is to give it to patients and then listen to their feedback. This takes time, and it's far from a business that can be confirmed by shaking hands outside a bar. There are at least dozens of similar drugs in India. I guess you need a drug that's reasonably priced and reliable. That's it. Ron, you're fucking amazing. Luca was very glad that Mary introduced such a friend. It must be said that this saved him a lot of explanations. Buying medicine is not that simple. It's completely different from going to the supermarket to pick out the things you like and put them in the shopping cart. No matter how you buy things in the supermarket, you can't go wrong. If your goal is a bowl, then what you buy back will never be a toilet. But generic drugs are different. You walk into a pharmacy on the street in India. There are dozens of brands of antibiotics, but the efficacy is not completely the same. The worst one may only be 50% of the patented drug, and even some strange things may be mixed in it. Patients may not be effective at best, and it is not surprising that serious cases may cause death. There's more than one pharmacy on Causeway Road outside Leopold Bar, but Luca never thought of going there to discuss business directly. This is not just because of the price. He also wants to do it for a long time, until he can make this business flourish. If the medicine he brought back caused an accident, his dream of getting rich would be completely shattered. So he was very happy that Ron understood all this. This is the business partner he was looking for. Listen, Ron, just the special medicines on the list just now, they cost at least $1,500 a bottle in the outside world. But do you know how much generic drugs with the same effect cost in India? Less than 2,000 rupees. This is not dollars. It's rupees. Those medicines were just casually placed on the shelves of street pharmacies in India, and poor people didn't even care about them. Whenever he thought of this scene, Luca was so heartbroken that he couldn't help himself. At the craziest moment, he even had the idea of robbing. It seems that you have been tortured recently. Ron flicked the wine glass with his fingers. Yes, every second that opportunity to make a fortune is delayed. My throat will be choked a little bit when I breathe fresh air. Hey, Luca, I never knew you were so sick, Mary said sarcastically on the side. You don't understand, Mary. Stopping a businessman from making money is more painful than killing him. I agree. Ron raised his glass to greet Luca. Look, I'm not the only one who understands the truth. God, maybe I shouldn't introduce you to each other today. Don't be like that, Mary. Everyone here has already violated the Indian Penal Code countless times. Ron's joke once again caused everyone to laugh at the table, and even the guests at the next table raised their glasses to greet him from a distance. This sentence is worth a drink. Well, before you imagine the future, you should first solve the problem of where you live. After drinking a glass of beer, Ron stood up and prepared to leave. In fact, he was not very interested in alcohol, and the few times he came here were mostly for business. Dude, I knew this would be easy for you. But I still have some doubts. Is this bar really reliable? The business we are talking about is already pure and clean here. Wow, in such a crazy place, no one fights. If you want to be a waiter here, the first interview is to fight with a strong man for 30 seconds, and you will be qualified if you don't fall down. I love this place in Mumbai. It was actually very simple to solve Luca's accommodation problem. Ron took him to the Indian hotel, and Zayangta took 2 minutes to fix it. He and Ron are partners. Every month, 30% of the tourists of Mumbai Tourism Information Company choose this place as their place of stay. Falsifying C forms is so small that it is not worth mentioning. As long as Luca is not arrested and questioned by the police, it is not a problem for him to live in Mumbai for another year. Of course, after solving his legal residence problem, Luca also paid a handling fee of $500. Ron took $200 and gave the rest to Zayangta. One thing is one thing, the visa business will not affect the subsequent medicine business. After arranging Luca, Ron did not rush to find a reliable medicine supplier. The reception desk of Victoria Railway Station has been renovated, and he must be there to inspect it in person. Luca has just arrived in Mumbai not long ago, and he needs a few days to rest well and enjoy the wildness of Mumbai. Naya, what do you think about changing an apartment? Baba, don't you like it here? I can't say, but there is no air conditioning here. You know the summer in Mumbai, it's not the hottest yet. Then Naya, fan Baba, she ran barefoot and got a colorful banana fan. This thing is called panka. Unlike the symmetrical palm leaf fans on both sides of the celestial empire, the Indian fans are crooked. It was designed for servants to use, and it would be awkward to fan yourself. In ancient times, it was even a luxury. Naya, wearing a short-sleeved sari, had a pair of white arms and was shaking up and down with the fan. The cute and innocent look made Ron laugh. The old fan above his head squeaked. Why did she need to do anything? Come here, Ron waved at her. Baba, little Nia came over innocently. Ron reached out and easily carried her to his lap. The rattan chair under him creaked and shook. Nia could only lie in his arms and dared not move. We are moving to an air-conditioned apartment, so that we won't feel hot when we hold Nia. This reason made Nia dizzy. Ah, so this is what Baba thought. You said you want to move to the Fortress District or the Kalaba District. Both places are close to the sea and the scenery is also good. Nia, listen to Baba, then let's go to the Fortress District. It's quiet there and the security is good. Okay, anywhere is good, as long as Baba is there. By the way, my company is also there, and I have reserved a position for you. Huh? Nia raised her head from his arms in surprise. Nia does a great job with the accounts. I'll give it to you before we find a suitable candidate, then I'll give it a try. Nia was both happy and worried. She was worried that she wouldn't be able to do it well. There are also computers. The office at Victoria Station will be officially open tomorrow. If the effect is good, we will also put one in our apartment. You can learn it when you have time. Lying on the rattan chair and looking at the ceiling above his head, Ron gently stroked Nia's soft skin while letting his thoughts wander. The new store at the train station will open soon, and he is looking forward to it. Chapter 39 New Store Opening. Mumbai was hot and muggy in July, and experienced locals knew that the rainy season was coming. In fact, the rainy season this year was a little late, and it would have rained heavily at this time in previous years. Continuous and abundant heavy rainfall would turn low-lying areas into a vast ocean. This is why Ron wanted to change apartments. The community where he currently lives is not at an advantage in terms of altitude. In addition, the cracks on the walls of the apartment and the debris that often fell from the ceiling made him very uneasy. It is said that just across the street, an apartment collapsed last year. I heard from the people who lived there at the time that when they woke up every morning, there was often plaster from the ceiling on their faces, and there were always freshly peeled stones, wood blocks and other things on the walkway. Then during the rainy season last year, it collapsed and many people died. This kind of accident is very common in India, but the more it happens, the stronger Ron's desire to move is. He really has no confidence in the credibility and infrastructure of the Indian government. So while checking the decoration of the office in the fortress area, Ron also strolled around several nearby streets. The scenery here is really nice, with tree-lined paths, garden houses, and even fewer beggars on the street. He plans to move here before the end of the month, which will not only avoid the rainy season, but also make it convenient for work in the future. Because they are all in the fortress area, Ron walked to Victoria Railway Station after seeing the decoration of the new company. He only walked for 2 minutes in the sun, and the shirt on his back was completely wet. Passing by the Flora fountain, the fresh and cool water vapor can't help but make people feel refreshed. But after walking 2 steps, the hot air hit again. Just on the side of the road, a small vendor was busy adding coal to the stove. He was wearing a sweat-stained vest and flipping the batter like food on the plate. The oil in the plate sizzled. Ron had nothing but admiration and confusion. Frying an oil pan under the sun was not a good idea, and of course few people could do it. Ron, Mary waved at him in a taxi on the side of the road. Ron sat in the back seat without hesitation, and the cool air from the air conditioner made him feel refreshed both physically and mentally. What made you decide to walk in the sun? For a few dozen rupees, I was just measuring the time for my commute, but the sun in Mumbai is a little too hot. Look at you now, it reminds me of the tandoori from Father Kit's stove. Mary handed him a handkerchief, and Ron took it and wiped his forehead roughly. By the way, why are you alone? Where's Lena? She drank too much last night and hasn't gotten up yet. It's definitely her loss that she can't see my masterpiece in the first place. You are really becoming more and more like a boss. Huh? You know, I have a piece of territory that really belongs to me, which is very important. Ron was a little proud. He felt at ease and no longer like a rootless duckweed. Mary understood his feelings and gave him an appreciative look. Through this brief eye contact, Ron suddenly found that Mary was wearing something different today. She was wearing a light blue short-sleeved silk shirt on her upper body, which was her favorite color, and a rare little white skirt on her legs. Mary looked pretty, lively, and confident in this outfit. Most importantly, Ron had never seen her wearing a skirt before. To be honest, you have a great figure, thank you, but isn't it too late to compliment me now? Mary smiled mischievously, then asked the driver to stop the car. They had arrived. There were still many people at the entrance of the train station. The hot air in his face made Ron frown and look forward to it. Let's go. Mary walked towards the magnificent Gothic building first. As she stepped out her slender and well-proportioned legs, her Roman sandals clattered on the road. There were hundreds of men on the street, and only 2 or 3 who had not stared at her began to stare at her. Ron shrugged his shoulders. He decided that he must send Mary home in person today. The platform of Victoria Railway Station is very long, and the metal roof above it extends beyond the field of vision. Because it is the terminus, the end of the train dock is where passengers get off. There is no shelter nearby, and pedestrians can shuttle freely. The exit leading to the outside of the station is also here. There are also administrative offices, ticket windows, passenger lounges, and various vendors around the train station. Usually the light here is dim and the voices are noisy. But today, under the arcade at the end of the platform, there is a dazzling billboard that illuminates this area. Red letters on a white background, Mumbai Tourism Information Company, and a telephone number below. Simple and clear, there are 6 such billboards, which are arranged in order from left to right under the arcade of each platform. The light bulb inside the billboard is always on, which ensures that every tourist who gets off the train can see it. Through the billboard arcade, there is a larger sign, which is the reception outlet of Mumbai Tourism Information Company at Victoria Railway Station. Bright signboard, magnificent metal arch, brightly lit reception, the floor is clean enough to reflect people. The front desk is at the entrance, and Mary is already standing there smiling and answering questions from several foreigners. There are several tables and sofas on the side, and a menu and brochures are placed on each table. There are 3 private reception rooms in this area, all separated by frosted glass. In order to attract guests to sit down, Ron also installed a coffee machine here. Anand, Vinod, Sanjay, and other familiar faces all changed into uniform yellow shirts. After hanging up their work badges, that was how the waiters at the Taj Mahal Hotel would be. Ron, this place is so beautiful, I can't even bear to touch the table. Anand was shaking with excitement. He stubbornly believed that the 5-star Taj Mahal could not compare to this place. I spent a lot of money on the things in here. Tell them not to break them, don't worry, if those untouchables dare to touch the sofas here, I will beat them with a stick. Ron looked at him and blinked. Brother, you even scold yourself when you are ruthless? Where are the flyers? Have you arranged them? Look outside, there are yellow shirts everywhere. We also have people on the streets of Mumbai. As you said, foreigners are the first target. Following Anand's gaze, Ron really saw a few familiar faces holding flyers and introducing something to foreign tourists carrying luggage. There is no ceremony for the opening of a new store in India, but there must be a sense of presence. With a fixed reception point, the company must of course promote it in a big way. Ron's people were handing out flyers in the train station and on the streets outside. It was a pity that their target customers were foreigners, otherwise Ron would have wanted to advertise in newspapers. Just for this store, Ron spent a lot of effort, bribing officials, spending a lot of money on decoration, and dispatching a large number of people to hand out flyers. Even the words on the sign at the door were in the same font after he looked at the facades of countless official institutions in Mumbai. When the tourists who had just arrived saw it, it was even more official than the official ones. Those tourist bureaus were shabby and rotten, and Ron's store was much cleaner than them. The tourists who came in 2s and 3s were the best proof, which was more attractive than the original makeshift team. Ron, here's your phone number. Mary at the front desk waved at him. Chapter 40 I want to be a good person. Johnny, it's me, Ron. I heard your new store opened. You're really well informed. Come on, man, there's nothing I don't know about this area. But you're amazing. To have developed the tourism industry to this extent, I'm lucky, and Caterpay has helped a lot. Don't be modest, brother. There are many businesses around tourism in Mumbai. There are too many hotels, restaurants, and tour guides, but you are the only one who can make money from these stores without investing any capital. They need customers, and I get a commission. Everyone gets what they need. By the way, when will your people come? In 30 minutes, at the same place. Let them come directly to my place. There's a private reception room, no problem. After hanging up the phone, Ron took out a suitcase from under the counter. It was full of US dollars exchanged from tourists during this period, ranging from $5 to $100, which could fill the entire table. In the reception room, Ron closed the door and began to sort out the stacks of US dollars according to the denomination. Since the last meeting with Cad Khan, both sides have reached an agreement. Cad Khan sends someone to collect Ron's money once a week. The two sides determined the exchange rate in advance, and then count the money and settle the account. The collector is named Neil, one of the leaders of Cadcon's foreign exchange business. It is said that every morning, he calls all the people he deals with to determine the exchange rate of major currencies. Throughout the day, someone calls him every 2 hours to tell him about the changes in international exchange rates. There is a taxi available for him 24 hours a day, and 2 drivers take turns driving. Every morning he visits middlemen in various regions and gives them several bundles of rupees for street vendors to keep. Brokers and other gangsters help street vendors find customers and take tourists and businessmen to them to exchange money. After the street vendors have exchanged the money, they put the foreign currency in bundles and wait for the middlemen to collect it. The middlemen move between street traders all day and replenish rupees when they need it. At night, Neil's men will collect all the foreign currencies. This is the black market transaction chain on the streets of India. As for the more cautious companies and businesses such as hotels, airline offices, and travel agencies, Neil personally directed the collection and exchange of money. Ron's company belongs to this category. He's a rising star, and Neil often comes to collect money in person. 30 minutes later, Neil, wearing a headscarf, walked in here. It is said that he was originally Persian and had majored in finance at an American university. How did you get this week? Not bad. I met a businessman. A total of $30,000. Ron pushed the money, and Neil's assistant began to count the money on the spot. There was a prepared money counting machine here. At the same time, Neil also handed Ron a large luggage bag. 30 points, 1.18 million rupees. This exchange rate was a little lower than the last time, and Ron was not surprised. As India's economic policies gradually relaxed, more and more foreign capital began to return to this continent. In the past few decades, the Indian government stipulated that if foreign capital wanted to settle in the country, it must find a local enterprise for joint ventures. And the local enterprise must hold no less than 60% of the equity. This directly forced away many old foreign companies from the colonial period, including Coca-Cola. Now that this restrictive policy has been greatly relaxed, the restless overseas capital has begun to prepare for reinvestment in the South Asian subcontinent. With foreign investment, the US dollar will naturally no longer be scarce. With a further development of trade, this abnormal exchange rate will continue to fall. So Ron expects that the profits of the foreign exchange black market will decline significantly next year. Tisk, the good days of making money lying down are coming to an end. The two sides counted and settled on the spot, and Neil shook hands with him and said goodbye 20 minutes later. Because Ron's cash flow is getting bigger and bigger, Neil suggested that he change the money once a day in the future. This can minimize the losses caused by exchange rate fluctuations. After all, the exchange rate of the black market is closely related to the international market. Ron agreed. The amount of money changed once a day is not much, so he plans to let Anand do it, and then he will do the account himself at night. Of the $30,000 this time, Ron's own capital is about 1 million rupees, and he made 180,000 rupees from the back and forth. A careful calculation shows that most of the profits of Mumbai Travel Company come from the foreign exchange black market, followed by the commission of hotels and restaurants. As for the service fee paid by tourists, it is the least noticeable part. Seeing the company's profits shrinking, Ron has been considering other ways to make money. Either he can negotiate with a hotel for a commission by relying on the customer base, or expand the scale and receive more tourists to make up for the difference in quantity. Or he can open up new ways and find other profitable businesses. Ron has some ideas, but they are not mature yet. He needs more capital. Although the rupee looks a lot, it is often worth millions, but it is only tens of thousands of dollars after the exchange rate. With this thought, Ron's family assets are not enough. After working hard for half a year, he has saved only 2 million rupees, more than $60,000. He can't even afford a house in the prime location of Mumbai, so he always lacks the idea of doing other things. He still needs to save money. He has been paying attention to land transactions in the central area of Mumbai recently. From the information he learned from the newspaper, this may be a rare opportunity, and he doesn't want to miss it. Fortunately, this window period will not be too short. Ron expects to start after the new year. When he was about to deal with the money, Mary told him that Rajesh was here. Not only Rajesh came, but also the chief of the fort police, Raja. Sulbay, nice to see you again, nice to meet you. Raja's face twisted into a strange look. If not because of abdominal cramps, then it was a flattering smile. Nanny, tear through. Ron smiled and clasped his palms together. Then he didn't waste any words and took a paper bag from Mary. Ron slightly opened a corner, revealing a thick stack of 100 yuan rupee notes inside. Then he handed it to Raja without taking it seriously. Only India could give money so openly, in public. Raja said a lot of thanks in a hurried tone, and then stuffed the bag of money into his chest. When he got outside, he bent to the side and spit loudly twice for good luck. After taking the money, they quickly went to other places. The train station was still crowded with people. Ron was not afraid of being seen by others, and he even intended to let the vendors within 100 meters to see the scene. This means that he has a close relationship with the police, and those who have evil ideas will take them back obediently. As the police chief, Raja is so respectful to Ron, and it is certainly not all because of money. Neil, who just left, is known to all street vendors in this area, and there is no need to say more about the person behind him, Hard Khan. In the eyes of outsiders, Ron is hooking up with Hard Khan, and the police dare not ignore him. It is because of these financial interests that Ron can be safe and sound in Victoria railway station. Bribery, gangs, and police have magically formed a stable triangle relationship. Ron counted his current businesses, including the foreign exchange black market, the dirty black market, and a drug black market waiting to be operated. Damn, he is obviously a good person, but why is he doing all illegal businesses? It's too difficult. Ron, there's your International Express. Mary's crisp voice interrupted his self-confession. The express came from France, and the sender was Anna and her husband. Chapter 41 Moving. After leaving Mumbai, Anna and her husband went to Goa, Mysore, Madurai, Bangalore in the south. Their journey circulated around the Indian mainland, from the Arabian Sea to the Bay of Bengal. They stopped and walked along the way until last month, when they returned to France exhausted. The next step was to organize the information, photos, and manuscripts of the trip, which took them 2 weeks to complete. The express delivery in Ron's hand was the photos that Anna and her husband had developed, as well as a thank you letter. The general meaning was that they were very grateful for Ron's help in Mumbai, and that the content of the Lonely Planet magazine about India had been finalized. It is expected that the new travel guide will be updated in September, and Ron and his Mumbai travel information company will also appear in the photo. Tisk. Ron couldn't help but smile when he saw this. What's the good news? Mary asked, holding her chin on the side. We're going to be famous soon. Ron shook the letter in his hand. We are already famous enough. Look, the flyers outside have contributed to this. No, we are truly famous. Famous among tourists all over the world. Really? Congratulations, you don't sound that happy. Come on, the more people come, the more tired Lena and I will be. Mary wrinkled her small nose. Hey, be happy. You are the highest paid people in the company besides me. In order to keep these two sisters, Ron paid them super high salaries. Each of them earned 10,000 rupees per month, which was more than the income of more than 95% of the population in India, including many officials. Of course, such a salary also brought Ron a rich return. With them, the door of the Mumbai Tourism Information Company has never been deserted. Young, beautiful, and with Western faces, many people signed contracts in order to chat with him. But 10,000 rupees is only more than $300 for Mary, and this income is really not related to high salary. I still miss the old days, the freedom, the excitement, the good pay. Beautiful lady, I need to remind you, this is India. You know what they will do to you if you are caught, right? Indian men are all perverts. Mary's pale blue eyes swept him up and down. If I remember correctly, you are also an Indian man. That's why I understand them. And the market in Joel is not good now. Why? With the economic liberalization, those electronic products will gradually become less in short supply. You know, things are more valuable when they are scarce. It seems that Bollywood is my final destination. Mary shrugged optimistically. I won't stop you, but at least wait until I find the right person. Then you have to hurry up. Maybe one day Lena and I will get tired of it and leave without saying goodbye. Recruiting again. Ron sighed helplessly. He never thought that Mary and Lena would stay here honestly. This is not their character. Without this pair of sisters, the attractiveness of Mumbai Tourism Information Company will at least drop a level. It seems that one more requirement for recruiting new people is to be good looking. At the end of July, Ron moved. He had no idea about the rent of the old apartment, no matter how cheap it was. When the landlord heard that Ron was moving out, he was even happy, because he was afraid that Ron would refuse to leave. The Indian Tenancy Act stipulates that once the price of a house is determined, it can never be increased. It even allows the house to be rented to the legal heirs of the current tenant at this fixed standard. As long as the tenant pays the rent, the landlord has no right to evict him, and the lease will be automatically renewed after the expiration of the lease. The most amazing thing is that the government also has regulations on rental prices, and the last time the rental standard was determined was in the 1940s. Yes, theoretically, the rental price in Mumbai is still the same as it was more than 50 years ago, and it has not increased by a single rupee so far. Once the Tenancy Act is introduced, it becomes extremely difficult to repeal it. There are always more tenants than landlords, and Mumbai's 2.5 million tenants are also the city's largest electoral college. In order to win the hearts of the people and win votes, all political parties worked hard and united to protect the interests of tenants. The validity period of the rental law was extended by 20 times. Tenants also suggested to landlords, sell the house to them at a price 100 times higher than the fixed rent, and they will become the new landlords, and the landlords will no longer have to worry about the rent that will never increase. The tenants' wishful thinking is very loud. If they really do so, it means that they can purchase the most expensive property in the prime location of the city at a price lower than that of a slum house. Therefore, landlords who keep the house and suffer from selling the house have no choice but to post warnings and refuse to repair the house. Of course, the landlords later learned their lesson. They directly asked gang members for help. Any tenant who dared to play a rogue would be beaten to pulp. Ron's landlord was not worried at first, but as Ron's men became more and more, he became afraid. In this black eating black situation, who knows who will win in the end? Now that Ron was moving out, of course he was overjoyed. Not only did he return his deposit, he also gave him a housewarming gift. This was the first time Ron had received such treatment, and he felt that it was a blessing in disguise. After accepting it without hesitation, he moved to a new place. It was an apartment on Slant Street in the Fortress District. It had a bedroom, study, dining room, kitchen, and bathroom, and the place was much larger than before. Most importantly, it had air conditioning and a refrigerator. Although it was already very old, Nia still regarded it as a treasure. Ron was also very satisfied with the place, especially the French door of the apartment, which faced the alley paved with large cobblestones. There was also a towering elm tree on the side of the road, and there was a bench underneath. It was so quiet that it made people feel at ease, and Ron liked it here. Although there was no longer a market downstairs of the nearby apartment building, at least he didn't have to worry about the ground under his feet becoming muddy on rainy days. Anand, don't you consider moving to another place? No, Ron, it's nice there, I like it there. Anand shook his neck happily. Ron moved today, and he brought many things here with a rickshaw. He hasn't ridden a rickshaw for a long time. Although it was hot and tiring this time, he found the joy he once had. I plan to build 2 more rooms next to the original house. Anand's face was full of pride when he said this. Is this for Jarma and Tilaka? Yes. They are older and need some space of their own, and there is a school. Anand, you should let them read more books. It is very useful, I know. Anand laughed. Soon our slum will have its own school. The municipality has compromised and allowed us to build a temporary school. This is great and something to be happy about. Are you willing to go? What? They are going to celebrate this. You know, Ron, many people are relying on you for their livelihood. You gave them wages, and then they had the funds to build this temporary school. They are very grateful to you. I will go. Great. They will be so happy. Looking at Anand's dancing, Ron suddenly felt embarrassed. He had not had the courage to really step into the slums until today. When he went to Anand's house, it was already a very peripheral place. Ron just didn't know how to refuse the invitation just now, and it seemed that he had to go now. You should have a good rest today. I'll be at the train station. Anand rode on the rickshaw and prepared to say goodbye. You should consider my suggestion, at least move your family to a better place. I know. By the way, Ron, I'm very curious. What? Anand looked around in the car, then leaned over. Why hasn't your little maid's belly grown yet? What? Ron was speechless. She's too young? Not even 18 years old. In our hometown, girls 5 years younger than this have 2 children, and there are many people who are 8 years younger getting married. Ron's scalp tingled when he heard it, but Anand was very natural, not joking at all. For the first time, Ron felt that he still didn't understand India. Not at all. No wonder someone once told him that Mumbai does not represent India. It is an independent and complex world. If you want to understand the real India, go to the countryside, where 80% of the country's population lives. Waving goodbye to Anand, Ron shook his head, and he had to be busy with another thing next. Luca had a lot of fun in Mumbai these days, but he didn't forget the business, and he called Ron yesterday. To be honest, this was the first time Ron touched medicine. This was a completely unfamiliar market, and he was going to ask Johnny about it. For black market transactions, of course, one must find professionals. Although the profession might not be the right one, the process was generally similar. Baba, the table in the study is too heavy to move. Nia rolled up her sleeves and called him from the door of the apartment. Ron suddenly shuddered, and he thought of what Anand had just said. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Urban Desert. 2 days after Ron moved, he made an appointment with Luca to go to the drug market in Mumbai. Lena wanted to go with him, but she gave up the idea after hearing that the drug market was close to the Dharavi slum. I heard that place is no different from ruins, Luca asked curiously after getting on the taxi. Ruins, Ron smiled. Do you still remember your impression of Mumbai on your first day? There were a lot of people, it was very noisy, and there was a strange smell, it was a stench. There's no need to be so subtle. Everyone knows this. Every foreigner who just got off the plane or train in India smelled a disgusting stench. This is by no means an exaggeration. Whether it is New Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, or Chennai, the whole city is emitting all kinds of stench. The stench of sweat, the stench of rotting food, the stench of excrement, and the stench of accumulated and fermented garbage will fill your nostrils the moment you land. Look at the streets now. Even foreigners are used to garbage and rats. There were several Indian men urinating in the corner, and there were also large ones in the bushes farther away. When the man put down his loincloth and left, a group of pigs and dogs immediately rushed up to snatch the fresh excrement. Ugh, not to mention Luca, even the well-informed Ron felt sick. Brother, why are your police indifferent to all this? Because the police sometimes do this too. What? Luca's eyes widened. There's nothing strange about this. This country itself is built on contradictions. Okay, we should get off the car, but we don't seem to have reached the destination yet. There's a cow blocking the intersection ahead. According to its temper, it might wait until dark. Indian cows are not afraid of people at all. Even if they are skinny, they can sit at the intersection and take a nap calmly. Now everyone is stuck here, with motorcycles, taxis, carts, and pedestrians squeezed together, and the deafening horns are honking even more happily. In order to prevent the last accident, Ron simply took Luca down and walked. Anyway, it was not far away. As mentioned before, Mumbai's development is rich in the south and poor in the north. In the central part, the dilapidated streets are so narrow that people can't fit in. The drug market is hidden somewhere in it, but before arriving, they need to pass through the side of Dharavi. Ron was also here for the first time. The slums in the distance were like dark brown sand dunes, stretching from the roadside to the distance, and finally intersecting and disappearing with the horizon in the scene transformed by dirty and hot smoke. When you get closer, you will find that the houses there are extremely simple. They are simply built with rags, plastic pieces, cardboard, reed mats and bamboo. One is close to the other, squeezed together, and narrow and winding alleys pass through them. In the messy and vast slums, there is nothing taller than a person. Luca opened his mouth wide, shocked by the scene in front of him. He has been to the countryside, but he has never seen slums. Looking more closely at the residents there was a woman squatting by the river combing her black hair, a child playing in the river, and a man shaving in front of a cracked mirror. Then upstream of the same river, someone was leading 3 goats to comb their hair, and by the way, goat droppings fell into the water one by one. Not all the people in the slums are poor. You see. They have their own livestock, Luca said. Ron glanced at the goats with red ribbons tied around their necks. If the men in the slums don't have wives, they will raise a few sheep. God, I don't understand what you are saying. Stop talking, Luca shouted. The prank succeeded, and Ron smiled and took him to continue walking through the edge of the desert. It was just him, the fake Indian. Other Brahmins would never come to such a place. In the teachings of Hinduism, the untouchables are the Dalits, and their uncleanness is contagious. The caste system has been diluted a lot in an open city like Mumbai, but it is still an insurmountable gap. Run, what are they doing? Luca discovered another strange thing. Following his gaze, Ron saw an Indian woman in a headscarf pasting something on the wall. That's cow dung cakes. Cow dung? Cake. Luca racked his brains but couldn't figure out how these two words came together. See those round things on the wall? These are processed cow dung. The mud walls of the slums were densely covered with hand-patted cow dung cakes. They were all processed, probably by collecting scattered cow dung, mixing with soil, and then mixing in chopped wheat straw. These cow dung cakes were rolled by hand, first pinched into a ball size, and then patted on the wall to press into a cake shape. Standing here, you can clearly see that there are women's fingerprints on the round cow dung cakes. What can this thing be used for? Luca asked, trying to hold back his nausea. Fuel or sell? Sell, that's right. Poor people can't afford gas and electricity. Cow dung cakes are the best substitute. See the bamboo basket on the boy's head? The cow dung cakes in it cost 1 paise each. Oh, the price may have increased now. But 1 rupee is enough for a long time. It's very cost-effective for people here, no wonder. No wonder, Luca muttered to himself. He saw all kinds of garbage along the way, pig manure, dog manure, and various excrement, but there was no cow dung. It turned out that it had been cleaned up long ago. Okay, stop looking. If you are interested, I will buy 2 pieces for you later. I will never be interested in this kind of thing, Luca protested loudly. Really? Remember the milk tea I invited you to drink before? Why, what happened? The hot water for boiling milk tea was boiled with cow dung cakes. Ugh. After walking on the edge of Mumbai's largest slum for more than 10 minutes, Ron took Luca to their destination, Valmiki Street. Because the name is difficult to pronounce and there are many drug dealers from all over the world, people just call it Drug Street. Like other shabby streets, Drug Street has nothing to do with high-end. Advertising billboards are stretched on both sides of the street, and they are surrounded by dense wires, like a spider's nest that makes people's scalps numb. Looking around, there are at least dozens of pharmacies on the street, and the hygiene conditions are generally worrying. Where should we go? I don't recognize any of the words above. Those earthworm-like Hindi are completely messy lines to Luca. Don't worry, let me check the situation. Ron found a store and walked in. He actually had another candidate introduced by Johnny, but before that, it would be better for him to understand the market first. Chapter 43 The Biggest Gangster. The narrow storefront was not big, but it was deep. Both sides of the wall were filled with various medicine packaging boxes, and the aisle in the middle allowed only one person to stand. Sir, what medicine do you need? I have everything here, a man with a typical Indian beard greeted them warmly. Ron handed him the list in his hand without any nonsense. Do you have these medicines? Yes, all. How many do you need? The pharmacy owner's shrewd eyes kept wandering around Ron and Luca. One was a local and the other was a foreigner, which made him a little hesitant. It was easy to be caught if he slaughtered a fat sheep, but it would be a pity not to slaughter it. Show us the medicine first. No problem. The store owner tilted his neck to another assistant, who immediately walked into the inner room. About 5 minutes later, the man came back with a cloth bag and walked barefoot. Look, it's all here. The store owner spread the cloth bag on the counter, and a large number of capsules and pills were exposed to the air nakedly. God, Luca gasped, and Ron's expression was also very interesting. These medicines were not packaged in any way. Some capsules even showed signs of melting, and the surface of the white tablets was full of stains. Do you sell your medicines like this? Of course not, we have packaging. The shop owner reached out and picked up a cardboard box from the ground, then gestured to Ron and the others. Ron and Luca looked at each other, and they both saw the shock and absurdity in each other's eyes. The packaging we are talking about is like the one on your wall, with a name, instructions, and brand of origin. Okay, this is also possible, but it will be a little more expensive. What's the price? For tumor treatment, 800 rupees per bottle. For anti-cholesterol, 450 rupees per box. Ron, this price is so cheap that it makes me a little uneasy, Luca whispered in English. How are their effects? Are they exactly the same as patented drugs? Ron looked at the shop owner. Yes, exactly the same. Indian medicine is absolutely fine. Let's go. Ron pulled Luca and left the pharmacy without looking back. The shop owner was still behind them, constantly reducing the price by 700 rupees and 500 rupees. Damn, this is too cheap. They cost thousands of dollars in Europe. Why is this so? Because this is India. The Indian government doesn't care about your capitalists' patents. Many people think that generic drugs are the product of illegal plagiarism and copycats, but in fact, they are legal. Not only are they legal in India, they are also legal in the United States, and even generic drugs were first produced by American pharmaceutical companies. Generic drugs mean that genuine drugs have passed the patent protection period, and other pharmaceutical companies produce similar drugs. They are almost the same in efficacy, quality, effects and indications, and the highest similarity can reach 99.99%. According to international practice, generic drug companies wait until the patent expires before starting to copy branded drugs. But India is different. It is a country of gods on earth, and there are many tricks. In the 1960s and 1970s, due to the poor living environment, the average life expectancy of Indians was only in their 40s. Most poor people could not afford any basic medical expenses, and the entire country could not even make a cold medicine. There is no way people have to live. And survival is the greatest human right, so the female leader Gandhi simply let herself go. Since they can't afford imported drugs, they just copy them, from the most basic anti-inflammatory drugs to high-end drugs for cancer treatment. The patent protection period is 20 years? Sorry, our Indian law does not stipulate this. India specifically stated in the patent law that they only protect the process patents of drugs, not the product patents. What does it mean? Simply put, it protects the process but not the results. The drugs developed by a pharmaceutical company are not judged to have patents themselves, only the pharmaceutical steps have patents. Then India can skip the research and development steps, trace back to the source from the finished product, and legally produce low-cost generic drugs. For example, Pfizer's anti-cholesterol drug Lipitor, Indian pharmaceutical companies only need to add some so-called active factors in the same process flow, then this will perfectly avoid Pfizer's patent protection. After all, the process flow is different, which is clearly stipulated in our Indian law. To put it bluntly, it is just playing rogue. The Indian government not only favors its own pharmaceutical companies in law, but also tilts in various policies. So after the 1970s, tens of thousands of generic drug factories emerged in India in just a few years. Anti-cancer drugs, hypertension drugs, all of them are very cheap in India. However, because there are too many pharmaceutical factories, coupled with the ancestral skills of Indians, the quality of many generic drugs is worrying. The drugstore that Ron and his friends just went to is probably made by some unknown small factory. He wants to make money, but he is not here to make money. The real drug market is not on the drug stores on the street. That is where street vendors are tossing. Ron, do you have a better channel? Luca's eyes lit up. Remember what Mary said about me? What? Solve troubles for people. Oh, that's right. Foreigners come to you when they encounter troubles. Things that can be solved in the drugstore are not troubles. Follow me. Ron did not stroll around the drugstore street. He took Luca to turn into an alley and walked around to an ordinary small building. Listen, the guy living inside is called Pant. He is a drug dealer. He can get drugs from all the well-known pharmaceutical companies in India, but most of his customers are very special. Special. Luca keenly captured the key words. Yes, usually he is very popular in armed conflict zones. Ron, you mean Luca stuttered. The Arab region, Africa, this is the person Johnny introduced. Those who can do this business are more or less related to the black market. Ron knocked on the closed metal door, and soon a servant came to open the door. Johnny introduced him. Ron handed a note to the other party. The servant took the note and turned around to close the door. Ron, does this work? Be patient. Sometimes you have to learn to bow your head in India. Just as Luca looked around nervously, the metal door opened again. The master wants you to come in. Thank you. Following the servant, Ron and Luca walked through the yard and walked to the main room at the back. This place is bigger than expected. In the open space of the yard, there are two security guards taking a nap under the tree. It was not until the innermost part that Ron saw the owner of this house, Pant. He had dark skin, a fat body, and a bulging belly that was more terrifying than a pregnant woman. When Ron and Luca came in, he was chewing banana chips and drinking sweetened office tea. Would you like some? He pointed to the banana chips in front of him. Ron sat down and ate without saying a word. There was no choice but for Luca to sit with him. When the two of them were showing off, Pant finally smiled. Johnny said you saved him. He was unlucky that time. Ron wiped his mouth. I think he was very lucky, Pant laughed. Ron also laughed, and finally Luca, who didn't know why, also laughed foolishly. I like you, Ron. I heard you are a doctor. If you mean the ugly scar on Johnny's shoulder, then I can barely be considered a doctor. Pant laughed again. I now believe you are Johnny's friend. Let's talk about business. Ron and Luca were refreshed. They knew they had passed the test. Chapter 44, Not Making Money for the First Time. In the room, Pant waved to the servant, who soon brought a set of hookahs. He mixed the hemp and tobacco together, wrapped a little on the end of a matchstick, and lit another match to burn it. The strange smell mixed with the scent of jasmine. Pant picked up the funnel-shaped pipe and took a deep breath. The blue smoke that rose up was disturbed by the slowly rotating fan above his head. Would you like a puff? He handed the pipe over with a dazed look. Ron shook his head and then looked at Luca beside him. Luca wanted to refuse, but he didn't know if this was an Indian custom. In order not to annoy the person in front of him, he bit the bullet and took a puff. The choking smell exploded in his chest, and everything Luca saw began to distort and hallucinate. It took 2 minutes for everything to return to normal. During this process, Pant and Ron kept staring at him without talking. This thing is too strong. Luca looked like he had survived a disaster. This is authentic Indian product, the best. Pant's face was full of pride. I don't know if it was because Luca's action just now won his favor. The atmosphere in the room obviously relaxed. What medicine do you need? Tumor, lymphatic, heart disease are all prescription drugs. Ron handed over the list he had prepared long ago. It was a bit troublesome to buy these medicines in pharmacies outside. Because prescription drugs must have a doctor's certificate, whether in India or other countries. But it is precisely because of the trouble that these generic drugs have become profitable. Pant just glanced at it and asked nonchalantly, how much do you want? 30 courses of each. Tumor medicine and lymphatic medicine are 1,500 rupees per box, heart disease medicine is 600, and cholesterol medicine is 800. Pant clicked on the calculator and showed them the final result, 160,000 rupees. Ron quickly calculated in his mind. This price is not cheaper than outside, and some are even slightly more expensive. How effective are they? We just saw a bad scene at the pharmacy outside. Don't confuse me with them. Those flies are selling garbage. Pant seemed very angry. He felt offended. Sorry, but this is Luca's first business. He needs to ensure his reputation before he can open up the market. First business? Pant couldn't help but stop complaining. Yes, he is Brazilian. Ron winked at Luca. The latter immediately replied, I am familiar with all the countries in South America. South America? Pant's attitude changed significantly. Yes, Brazil is my base camp. The population there is very large, and the economy is not so developed. In short, this is a great soil. Why is the demand for generic drugs increasing every year? Because there are still many poor people in the world who can't afford to see a doctor. Branded drugs cost hundreds or thousands of dollars a bottle. Even in developed European and American countries, many people still can't afford to pay. What about South America, where the economy is not so developed? Brazil has a population of over 100 million, and Argentina, Colombia, Peru, and Venezuela also have tens of millions of people. Can they afford branded drugs that cost hundreds of dollars? Pant put down his hookah pipe, rubbed his fat hands on his big belly, and his eyes flashed with excitement. Go and get the medicine, he shouted to the servant. Ron and Luca looked at each other. And they both secretly expected that there would be a surprise waiting for them next. As it turned out, the servant did not disappoint. Look, Ranbaxy, Cipla, and Son. Pant waved the packaging box in his hand. These medicines are all from the best pharmaceutical companies in India, and they are exactly the same as those imported drugs. Great. Ron had heard of these pharmaceutical companies a long time ago. They are the most cutting-edge representatives of Indian pharmaceutical companies. The packaging boxes in his hands looked very exquisite, and they were labeled in both Hindi and English, which were not inferior to branded drugs. Luca no longer doubted it at this time. He had done his homework before coming here, and these pharmaceutical companies were his most ideal suppliers. You just said you were going to start this business in South America. Pant glared at him with bulging eyes. Yes, I think it has great prospects, of course. Medicines make money just like gold. I'll give you the lowest price, as low as my purchase price. What? Luca stuttered. 70,000 rupees, you take this batch of goods, but you have to agree to one condition of mine. Please say, all your business in South America must be purchased from me. As long as the volume is large enough, I will give you a 30% discount on the basis of the lowest price. Pant decided not to make money on this first deal. Let the customer take the goods away to prove the efficacy of the medicine first, and then talk about the next business. He is a distributor and does large-scale transactions. As long as the shipment volume in the South American market can keep up, he is willing to give another 30% discount. It is very tempting. Pant gave up 30% of the profit in one sentence, which also made Ron and others realize the huge profits in the pharmaceutical industry. Luca agreed without much consideration. He has no other connections in Mumbai, and this is a rare opportunity. The medicine will be ready tomorrow. You can come again or tell me an address. Can you deliver to my door? Luca's eyes lit up. Pant glanced at him and sneered, only in Mumbai. If it's an international transaction, the price will not be this high, and it must be paid in US dollars. No problem. Mumbai is not bad either. Luca smiled. He thought it could be delivered directly to South America. I think we will come again, Nanny. Ron stood up and put his hands together. Nanny, Pant returned the greeting. You speak authentic Marathi. Thank you. Leaving the yard, Luca fell into endless excitement. We're going to get rich. Ron. I've inquired before, and the price Pant gave us is several times lower than the market price. Damn, several times the profit. Pant is a direct distributor of the pharmaceutical factory. He can get the lowest price. Thank you, Ron. I knew I wouldn't return empty-handed this time, as long as you don't forget our agreement, of course. 30% commission. You help me with customs. This commission mainly comes from the transaction between Luca and Pant, which sounds very high. But the fact is that compared with Luca's subsequent profits, this amount of effort is insignificant. After getting the cheap generic drugs from India, Luca will sell them at twice or three times the price in South America. This is the bulk of the profit, and Ron only takes a small commission. It's going to rain soon. What? The rainy season in Mumbai is coming. The dark clouds that have been lingering in the sky for weeks gathered from the horizon in all directions, as if pressing down on the tall buildings, ready to sweep away everything. After 8 months of dry season, the air is filled with the scent of rain, and pedestrians on the road are excited as if they are drunk. Mumbai is about to usher in a rare cool season, and everyone is looking forward to it. Chapter 45. How pitiful. It started with a few scattered drops, and then turned into a heavy downpour after a few seconds. A few minutes later it turned into a downpour, and within an hour, the rain turned into an endless torrent. The rain was so heavy and dense that it was hard to breathe outside without covering your mouth with your hands. Because of the long-awaited rain, pedestrians on the street sang and danced happily, and the slums were full of clay pots, plastic basins and wooden barrels to collect rain. Some people simply took soap and bathed in the heavy rain. Some people went to the nearby temple and knelt in the rain to pray. They thought it was a miracle. But the heavy rain lasted too long and didn't really stop for several days. In the end, there were no more celebrating people on the street. Everyone stared blankly at the erratic, swaying and twisting rain curtain. There were several faces crowded at the door of each house, and every lightning strike reflected the picture of people standing still in amazement. The alley outside the apartment door was covered with a layer of turbid water, and the cobblestones of different shapes in the past were no longer visible. Baba, close the window. Neo came over and closed the glass window of the study for him. I thought it would be color after the rain, but now it's hot and stuffy. Ron turned away from the window and stretched out of boredom. After the rainy season, the number of tourists coming to Mumbai dropped sharply, and Victoria Railway Station is now very idle. Baba, you can just rest at home, and we have air conditioning in our house. Why do you sound happy? Because Nia can accompany the master. Ron chuckled and sat back in the chair to continue flipping through the half-read book. Recently, he even found a few surgical books when he was free. In a place like India, it's good to have more skills. The government's nominal free medical care for all is just for listening. Public medical resources are scarce, and the queue will be several years later. But as long as I announce it, then I will have free medical care for all. As for the life and death of the untouchables, who cares? The last thing India lacks is population. A population like cattle. Ding-ling-ling. A phone rang from the living room. Nia, who was cleaning outside, answered it immediately. Baba, there's a call for you. Yes. Ron put down his book and stood up. Oh, This kind of life is really good, especially with a little maid like Nia by his side. She takes care of all the trivial matters in life, and Ron doesn't have to worry about it at all. India is not so unacceptable. At least here he has achieved a change of fate. Well, a change of fate in the literal sense. Luca, Ron, I'm going back to Brazil, now. Yes, the rain has stopped. This is a rare opportunity. Ron looked out the door. The sun showed intermittently. On the street where the temperature was getting higher and higher, the rain gradually turned into steam. It rained for 4 consecutive days, and finally gave people a chance to breathe. Okay, I'll personally say hello at the customs. When are you going to leave? In the afternoon. I heard from the weather forecast that this kind of weather will continue for the next week. I'm going to get moldy. Okay, I'll go to the airport with you in the afternoon. Mumbai Airport is known as the busiest airport in South Asia, with hundreds of flights taking off here every day. When Ron and his friends arrived here, taxis couldn't even get in. There were all kinds of vendors outside, and they would never miss any opportunity to do business. But as long as you squeeze through the crowd, you will suddenly see a bright future when you get inside. At the entrance of the airport hall, there are iron railings separating the dense crowds of passers-by. There's no way, you have to do this, otherwise the airport will become as chaotic as a train station. Because there's air conditioning here, if there is no security, the army of people looking for cool air will instantly flood the airport. After Luca showed the ticket to the security personnel, he was allowed to take Ron into the terminal hall. Are you sure it's okay? Of course, believe me, this is India. Luca was pulling a large bag full of medicines. The next day after the meeting, Pants people delivered the things to the Indian hotel where Luca lived. The two sides exchanged money and goods, which was very neat and tidy. The process was no different from buying vegetables on the street. Entering the airport, there were also many people, both foreigners and Indians. However, most of the Indians who can come here are of high caste, and ordinary people cannot afford the cheap air tickets. It was also here that Ron finally felt a modern sense that Mumbai should have as a metropolis. To be honest, the decoration here is good, even quite Indian art style. The floor is clean, the lights are bright, and most of the people coming and going are dressed decently. The loincloths on the street seem to have disappeared here. The two did not have much time to look carefully, and it was important to do business. The ticket inspection and security check in front were very smooth, but when passing through customs, Ron took the initiative to step forward. The customs officer with a big beard was meticulously checking Luca's luggage. This is a lucrative job, especially checking the luggage of foreigners. Why do you bring so many medicines? Because he is not in good health, sir. Look, this is his medical record. This friend suffers from malignant tumors, congenital heart disease, and extremely high cholesterol. My God, it's so pitiful. Ron handed over the medical record that he had prepared long ago. The customs officer flipped through it and saw several large rupees sandwiched in the medical record, which was particularly eye-catching. He glanced at Ron and the others calmly, then snapped the medical record shut. Who are you to him, friend? I am his friend. He came to India this time just to see a doctor. His illness looks very serious. At some point, the rupees in the medical record disappeared. That's right, only we in India can save this poor man. Come often in the future, friend. Nani will tear through. The customs officer returned the medical record to them and even kindly gave them a blessing. He was really touched that Luca had a disease for no reason. As the customs officer waved his hand to let them go, the last obstacle in front of them had disappeared, and the next inspection after landing was not Ron's business. God, I didn't expect it to be so easy. I don't even need to pretend to be sick. If you want, I can arrange it. No, that's it. It's always like this. You're so fucking amazing, Ron. Let's go. I'll wait for your good news. Don't worry. This business is absolutely fine. Luca waved confidently and pulled his luggage to the boarding gate. The medical records they just handed over were real, and there was even a doctor's prescription drug certificate. In India, as long as you are willing to spend money, no matter how outrageous the medical records are, they are not a problem. From doctors to customs officials, bribery is everywhere, which is an integral part of the Indian system. Of course, Ron is confident that he can help Luca pass customs not only because of this. Don't forget that there is also an airline company in the foreign exchange black market industry of Kadhan. It's just that it's best not to use such favors. He still prefers to solve the problem himself. After sending Luca away, Ron was not in a hurry to leave. This opportunity is rare, and he is going to talk to the customs officer again. Hello, sir, I am the CEO of Mumbai Tourism Information Company. Is it convenient to talk? In the other party's surprised eyes, Ron took out a business card from his pocket. Well, this is when the CEO business card comes in, which is reserved for government executives. Chapter 46 Boss, you are a good man. Ron sir, CEO of Mumbai Tourism Information Company. The customs officer looked him up and down. He was tall, with white skin and gray eyes. His light blue shirt was clean and tidy, and his trousers and leather shoes were also meticulously maintained. What can I do for you? He took the business card and shook his neck habitually. Actually, I want to learn about the airport's investment promotion. What? See the restaurant and handicraft shop over there? I want to open a tourism reception company here, just like what I did at Victoria Railway Station. Tourism reception company? Victoria Railway Station, yes, this is my second branch, and it will be spread all over India in the future. Wow, this tone sounds unusual. The customs officer glanced at the business card in his hand again, and his expression relaxed a little. So, you came to me. I want to meet the person in charge here. Maybe you can help. Can I ask you a question? Please go ahead. Your last name is Sir. It extends to the sun god. Surya? That's no problem. The customs officer showed a warm smile on his face. Oh, thank you, but why? This made Ron a little confused. I am from Orissa. The Konark Sun Temple is just north of Puri city. When I was a child, my family and I often went there to pray. Wow, Ron's eyes widened. Look, we are brothers. Yes, brother. The customs officer hugged his shoulders affectionately. The two seemed to be old friends who had suddenly met again after many years of separation. They hugged each other warmly and patted each other's shoulders. What do you think of what I just said? Leave it to me. Singh, the director of the administrative office here, is an old friend of mine. That's great, brother. Ron calmly stuffed a few US dollars into his pocket. The green color was so pleasing. The customs officer's neck swayed faster. Let's have a meal together on the next sunny day. No problem, I'll wait for your call. They shook hands and said goodbye to each other, but Ron turned around after walking 2 steps. By the way, brother, I still don't know your name. Harry Chopra. Just call me Harry, okay, brother Harry. The two waved goodbye again, smiled, and nodded their heads, with an amazingly high synchronization rate. Damn, religion is really a magical thing, and things went smoothly beyond Ron's imagination. Just because they are close to the same god, Harry agreed to help him make connections without hesitation. Tisk, how to say it? It's just magic. Ron couldn't guess the third brother's brain circuit at all. But one thing is certain, the surname Chopra means warrior, representing the Kshatriya caste, right after the Brahmin. Just like everyone else here, the men wore hard leather shoes and suits, and the women wore expensive silk clothes. They looked high-spirited and serious, running in and out of the office building with serious expressions. The sun after the rain shone on the polished glass and brass facades of the airline offices and other companies, and outside the iron fences were the roadside vendors in tattered clothes and sweating profusely. In Mumbai, a street often separates two worlds, coexisting and not infringing on each other, yet surprisingly harmonious. Mumbai's rainy season may continue for several weeks. The heavy rain that pours down almost makes the entire South Mumbai sink into mud. The news reported that a certain slum was flooded again. And the Gate of India is now directly connected to the Arabian Sea due to the rising water level. Even though the infrastructure in the Fort District where Ron is located is good, the cobblestone road at the door is no longer as beautiful as it used to be. It is common for rain to reach the ankles. Due to the heavy rain for several days, the business of the Mumbai Tourism Information Company has plummeted. Even many trains at Victoria Railway Station have stopped operating due to rain problems. Ron, who has nothing to do, is checking the accounts in the company office in the Fort District. He hired 3 clerks and an accountant for the company a week ago. Have the repayments from the LS Hotel and the Asia Star Hotel been received? Yes, but they are a little dissatisfied with the current commission because we bring fewer tourists than before, the new accountant Harris answered. Ron waved his hand nonchalantly. Tell them that after the rainy season, it will be the peak tourist season. We are already the largest tourist reception company in Mumbai. This kind of quibbling is not the first time. Ron's business is bleak, and those hotels and restaurants are not doing well either. In the past, his company's monthly profit easily exceeded 700,000 rupees, but now it has been cut in half. If the heavy rain in September does not stop, the situation will only get worse. How many people are still taking jobs at Victoria Railway Station now? Less than 20. The others have either returned to their hometowns or their houses in the slums are leaking and they can't come out to work for the time being. The salary is calculated on a daily basis. If someone's family is in urgent need of money, pay him in advance. Yes, Mr. Sir. Accountant Harris looked at him in surprise and seemed to be hesitant to speak. What's wrong? Ron glanced at him. You are a good man, boss. Tisk. Ron sneered. Really? I've never seen a boss who takes the initiative to pay his employees. You know, no one cares about those delegates. I will pay whoever makes a profit for the company. It's that simple. Okay, make a report of the latest accounts. I want to see how long we can last. Is he a good boss? Ron himself doesn't know the answer. There is a very cruel fact in front of him. He is the only formal employee in the entire Mumbai Tourism Information Company. Yes, dozens of people make a living under him during busy times, but the only registered contract worker is Ron himself. Everyone else, including the accountant Harris, 3 clerks and Anand, are just outsourced personnel or temporary workers. The reason why Ron did this is that India has the most stringent labor laws in the world. That is, Indian companies basically cannot fire any employee, even if he is often absent from work. There is no reason. This is a legal provision, and it has been strongly supported by the government and the general public. Once a textile company in Mumbai fired an alcoholic who was often absent from work, but the other party appealed. The textile company spent 15 years and a lot of manpower to win the lawsuit. Such high costs force most companies in India to adopt outsourcing to avoid the sanctions of labor laws. Ron is also afraid, because the 3 brothers have many tricks. Especially the local guides who have been hanging around on the streets for many years. If anyone is determined to take his salary, Ron really has no good way for a while. So the safest way is to be like everyone else, all temporary workers, and I am the only one left. The strange thing is that no one has objected so far. They have become accustomed to this practice. However, Anand and his friends have no interest in becoming regular workers. When they encounter this rainy season, they can leave Ron without any burden to earn other extra money. For example, they can help rich people unclog sewers or help them clean blocked toilets. People from the bottom have their own way of survival in any season. Let them sit at Victoria Station every day and only earn a dozen rupees. Maybe some people are not happy. In short, everyone has all kinds of ideas, and Ron simply lies down and does whatever he wants. If you come to work for a day, he will give you the most basic salary, and if you don't come, you won't get it. Ron, look what I brought you. Mary came running in with an umbrella, holding a magazine tightly in her arms. Lonely Planet. Ron's eyes lit up. The bad luck brought by the rainy season, that lasted for more than a month, seemed to be finally leaving. Chapter 47. Awesome. Anna and her friends sent Ron a letter at the end of July, predicting that the latest issue of the travel guide to India would be published in September. Today is September 10th, and the estimated time is very accurate. It is also a rare good news in more than a month. Taking the Lonely Planet from Mary, Ron immediately began to look for content about Mumbai. The content of Lonely Planet about India is roughly divided into several major sections: history, lifestyle, religion, food, market, art, and scenery. If you want to write all of these contents, the thickness of the magazine will need at least several hundred pages. However, the issue of Lonely Planet in Ron's hand is a bit special. It is a special topic about Mumbai. Lonely Planet will make special issues for some popular cities in the world, which is a special treatment. Turning to the first page, below the title of Mumbai is its population number, 13 million. The next line is the best reception, Mumbai Tourism Information Company. Wow, Ron counted it, and the second line at the beginning was his company, and the list was directly filled. Below are some rankings of the best dining and best accommodation. After that, there is the introduction to the history of Mumbai. His name starts to appear in the column of scenic spot introduction. Although there are only a few words, the author has already described Ron's expertise and how to help them avoid many scams. Some of the good accommodation hotels and restaurants are also recommended by Ron. This part of the content only mentions Mumbai Tourism Information Company interspersed, and the real introduction to the latter is mainly concentrated in the directory of practical information. Mumbai Tourism Information Company, TEL. XXXXXXX, The staff at the headquarters of Victoria Railway Station are very helpful. They provide a lot of brochures and information on Mabon. These things are very useful, and the local scams are nowhere to hide. It is worth noting that all services such as accommodation, guides, restaurants, etc. can be provided here for tourists. This includes foreign currency exchange, and they have the best exchange rate in Mumbai. There is a reception desk at Victoria Railway Station from Monday to Sunday. There is not much content, but Ron is already very satisfied. Compared with the introduction of dozens of wards of other hotels, his company is definitely VIP level treatment. After all, the entire guide is less than 100 pages, and most of the information is just a cursory glance. After closing The Lonely Planet, Ron stretched himself with a refreshed look. Everything is ready, only the east wind is missing. From October to April of the following year, the monsoon season is over and it almost stops raining. This is the best time of the year in Mumbai and the best time to travel. This travel guide came at the right time and can be called the strongest aid. So you found the information you wanted? Mary was wiping her wet hair with a towel. Yes, it was like a God's help. Ron walked over to help her. The three clerks in the office, including Harris who was printing the information, stared at the intimate behavior of the two in amazement. This is unimaginable in India, where the barriers between men and women are extremely strict, but it is undeniable that Harris' eyes are full of envy and jealousy. This is a foreigner, and a foreign woman. Which Indian man has not fantasized about it? Hey! You adulterous couple, I caught you, I don't know when. The baby-faced Lena was standing behind them. You're just jealous, Mary rolled her eyes. That's right, Lena admitted generously. She turned to face Ron. I want one too, okay, no problem, but you guys help me sort out the list in the computer later, the rating statistics for hotels and restaurants? Why don't you let them do it? Lena was talking about the three newly hired clerks. She was not happy to do this kind of work. You two are the only ones who speak good English and can use computers. Ron deliberately put on a pleading gesture. HMPH, then we will do you this favor with reluctance. Let's go to Leopold Bar tonight. I'll treat you. Great, I met a lunatic recently. Really? That guy followed me for a long time, all the way to the downstairs of the apartment. Lena lay on the table with her eyes blurred. She had a pair of big eyes and a pair of sexy thick lips on her round face. She was very beautiful, and after drinking, she became more charming. A lunatic. Ron shook the wine glass in his hand. Yes, that must be a pervert, Lena said with certainty. Ron looked at Mary, who shrugged. I only saw a back figure upstairs. Is it an Indian man? Ron continued to ask. No, it's a foreigner. Indian men only dare to think in their heads. They're all cowards and dare not mess with foreigners. Just like you, Lena turned the empty wine glass with her slender fingers, and looked at Ron provocatively. You are drunk, I'm not. Hey. Number 4, give me a glass of whiskey, Lena shouted to a red-dressed waiter, who had the number 4 printed on his chest pocket. Give me a glass too, and Mary pointed at Ron. Yes, that's right, everyone changed to whiskey, Lena cheered. Hey, you will get drunk, you have to take us back tonight. There's a lunatic. As the boss, isn't this what you should do? Lena looked at Ron with contempt, as if he would not be a qualified gentleman if he refused. Okay, drink to your heart's content tonight. Ron was in a good mood, and he was looking forward to the coming October. Cheers, Lena and Mary responded enthusiastically. There were many large ceiling fans swinging slowly on the high ceiling of the bar, and mahogany trims were inlaid around the painted walls, doors, windows and mirrors. Ron and his friends drank until late, and he kept his promise and sent them back to their apartment near Covez Road. Mary and Lena slept in a bedroom, with a wardrobe on the wall, and many bright clothes were neatly hung on the racks. Hey, come and sit. Mary curled her legs there with a bottle in her hand, and Lena was leaning on the side, looking at him with a silly smile. I have to get you a towel, come here, now, Mary almost ordered, her eyes were blurry with alcohol. Well, maybe I shouldn't have treated you so much, Ron approached, and before he could finish his sentence, he was pulled by Mary and staggered. Leaning forward, Ron saw Yukiko. You have to try. Mary held his hand and guided him in the direction. How is it? Very strong, isn't it? We've been exercising since we were young, and we're good at fighting. I've trained so hard that I can write letters with that damn thing. Do you feel the power? Ron wanted to say something else, but he was already being attacked from both sides. Ron was young, but fighting two women at the same time was not an easy job. When he woke up the next day, the bed looked like it had been bombarded by a shell. There was no need to save it. Damn, he forgot one thing, the airline. Chapter 48, Going International. Are you planning to run away? I have something urgent to do today. Really? What a bad excuse. Mary half supported her body, watching him put on his clothes in a leisurely manner. I made an appointment with an administrative official of the airline. You know, I have long planned to enter the airport. God, he actually made up a lie about an airline to deceive us. Lena, who had her head out from under the blanket, smiled at him foolishly. Ron stopped what he was doing helplessly. Girls, since I tried my best last night, can you help me prepare breakfast? Maybe we should help him, only if he continues to serve us. Mary and Lena huddled together and chattered, and occasionally their beautiful eyes frequently lingered on Ron. Please, hurry up. Ron walked over and kissed them on both sides of their faces, then rushed into the bathroom in a hurry. When he came out after washing up, there were toast, hot dogs, and a glass of milk on the table. In the kitchen, Mary was still frying steak. Lena, who was sitting on the sofa, was swinging her smooth legs idly. There was a circle of milky white above her tender thick lips. Did you steal my milk? Ron stuffed the bread into his mouth in a few seconds. This is obviously our milk. Okay, Ron shrugged. By the way, I like your lips. I knew you, a greedy ghost, liked that. I can feel it in my mouth. Ron waved his hand, picked up the umbrella and went out. Hey, steak, Mary called behind him. I'll come often in the future. The rainy season in Mumbai seemed to be coming to an end. Most of the dark clouds in the far sky had dissipated. The long-lost sunshine pushed away the heavy rainy clouds, making the windows of the apartment building across Covey's Road a dazzling mirror from time to time. Just as the weather forecast said, today is a rare sunny day. Harry Chopra, the customs officer at Mumbai Airport, called yesterday and said that he had a meeting today. Ron wanted to get some information from him, but the other party only said, "You can come." This answer is too fucking Indian. They never discuss things on the phone, nor do they tell you the specific results. No matter what you ask, the answer you get is mostly, "You can come, just come." It seems that he is afraid that you will not go, and he is trying his best to seduce you. Ron still doesn't understand the third brother's train of thought. On the way to the meeting, he went back to the fortress office to pick up some things. When he arrived at the Seaside Hotel on Linhay Avenue, the sun was shining and he was not late. The scenery here is very good, with a panoramic view of the vast Arabian Sea. The doorman under the colorful awning at the entrance of the hotel respectfully took the umbrella from Ron's hand. Ordinary people are not allowed to enter the restaurant here. Led by the waiter, Ron soon came to a courtyard with an atrium. Hey, Ron Baba, Nani Tarak through, Brother Harry. Although the other party almost made Ron unable to hold back as soon as he opened his mouth, he still hugged Harry enthusiastically. Okay, let's get to know each other. This is Mr. Singh, the director of the executive office of Air India. Harry led Ron to a middle-aged man with a blue turban. This is Ron sir, the CEO of Mumbai Tourism Information Company. He is very famous among foreigners in Mumbai. Hello. The two shook hands and sat down and began to look at each other quietly. Singh was tall, with a thick beard. And his thick eye bags were as eye-catching as his bright eyes. This outfit clearly showed his Sikh identity, and the surname Singh also proved this. Usually only men who have completed the Sikh initiation ceremony will give themselves the surname Singh, which means lion in Sanskrit. If you trace it back, Singh originally came from the Kshatriya caste, representing the king and warrior class. However, due to different ideas, Sikhism emerged later. Sikhs in India are usually tall and strong. They are the best soldiers and are much more sturdy than other Indian races. Now 1/3 of the officers in the Indian army are Sikhs. In view of their strong influence, the Indian government specially allows them to retain their own ethnic decorations in the army. That is, the representative turban, which is the only one with this honor. Other religions must wear a uniform military cap. The so-called red-headed Indians refers to the British colonial period. They found that Sikhs were brave and good at fighting. That's why they recruited a large number of them into the army and brought them to the world as ace troops. Compared with other religions, Sikhism has a good status in Indian society. They usually work as drivers, technical workers, and soldiers. For example, Mr. Singh in front of him can become a government official. He is already an elite among the elites. He looked at Ron with undisguised eyes. The surname Sir sounds like it comes from the north. You are very knowledgeable. I am indeed from Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh. Singh's tone seemed a little cold. Then why come to Mumbai? You have more power than the government there. At this point, Ron finally heard the sarcasm or dissatisfaction in his words. He glanced at Harry beside him and made a caste lip gesture. Ron's heart moved. My parents are teachers, but because of religious conflict, the local school was burned down by Muslims. As far as I can remember, that school was destroyed by such a conflict for the third time. The state government had no budget to rebuild the campus, so they could only bring me to Mumbai. According to the original plan, they would find a job in Mumbai first, and then send me to college. Unfortunately, at the beginning of the year, they could not escape another religious conflict. Are your parents both teachers? Singh's face was no longer so serious. Yes, hundreds of students have graduated under their teaching in the past 10 years. Guru Granth Sahib, Sikh prayer. Singh crossed his hands and made a prayer gesture. Seeing this, Ron and Harry also put their hands together. Whether it is Hinduism or Sikhism, they have a common object of disgust, that is, Muslims. The former is a feud, and the latter has prohibited intermarriage with Muslims since the 18th century. This wave is to find a common enemy. In fact, Hinduism and Sikhism do not get along. After all, the original intention of the birth of Sikhism was to overthrow the caste system and establish an equal society. This is why Singh had a mediocre impression of Ron at the beginning. However, the intricate relationship between religions in India is just like that between China, Japan and South Korea, which cannot be clearly explained. Fortunately, the three people here can become social elites because they have a rational mind, and religion is more like a coat. In addition, Singh respects the profession of teacher very much. After Ron introduced his life background, he quickly won his sympathy and favor. Harry said, "You want to open a foreign tourist reception at Mumbai airport? This is a great thing, isn't it? There is no company in Mumbai that specializes in introducing the scenery of India to foreigners, and I fill this gap. As a superpower in the world, India is so powerful. If it is not fully displayed to foreigners, I think it is a waste." Superpower? Powerful? Singh and Harry were a little surprised at first, and then a sense of pride rose from their feet, making them feel elated and extremely useful. This is really good. Yes, India is already a superpower, and foreigners need to face us. When the 5 permanent members of YouTube talked about this topic, how could it not be climax? The two were so immersed in the fantasy of a superpower that they seemed to be unable to control themselves. But after all, we are hosting foreigners, and the company's qualifications are important. Singh finally remembered the main business of the day. That's even more of a problem. Mumbai Tourism Consulting Company is already internationally renowned. Ron quietly took out A Lonely Planet. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49. Do you have such a friend? Lonely Planet, the world's most authoritative travel guide. Singh and Harry looked at each other. They often travel abroad with public funds, but rarely spend time studying any guidebooks. They only stay in 5-star hotels and go to Michelin restaurants. They don't care about the cost at all. Anyway, they can get reimbursed in the end. Is this magazine famous? Singh touched the cover. The printing quality is very good. No doubt. Almost all foreigners who come to India have a copy of Lonely Planet. India is too big. Without such a guide, they don't know where to go. It's obvious that there are too many scammers in India, and foreigners are afraid of being cheated, so they only dare to go to places recommended by the magazine. Of course, Ron can't be so direct. He used artistic techniques to embellish it a little. It's a superpower. After all, it's normal for the people of a small country to lose their way in the vast land of India. Singh and Harry nodded frequently after hearing this. This gangs. Did your company advertise on it? Singh wanted to find keywords about his company on the cover. No, Lonely Planet refuses any advertisements. All information comes from the field visits of travel journalists. It is welcomed by all backpackers because it is authentic and reliable. Ron turned over the cover of the magazine, swiped down 3 lines with his finger, and found the column of the best reception company. Look, my company is here. The first page. Anyone who buys the magazine can see it. Are you sure this is not an advertisement? They only wrote the name of your company. But there is no introduction. In the back, Ron motioned him to turn the page. The content that appears on the first page is very practical and necessary to show to readers first. Simply put, it has the highest priority. Singh really saw a detailed introduction of the Mumbai Tourism Information Company in the back, which was just after the official Indian Tourism Bureau. Compared with a few sentences in the previous one, the writer seemed to have a preference for Ron's company, and the praise was obvious. This surprised Singh a little. In his impression, foreigners were more willing to trust the Indian government. You did a good job, but is this magazine really distributed worldwide? At least 600,000 copies are sold each issue. Those who subscribe to it are foreigners, and they are also potential tourists to Mumbai. This number far exceeded Singh's expectations. He originally thought it would be more than 100,000 copies. As the director of the Administrative Office of Air India at Mumbai Airport, he has the power to decide which stores can move into the airport's commercial area. Fame and quality are both indispensable. In a sense, these stores also represent the style of Mumbai. Singh didn't have much impression of Ron's company, but this magazine was a good reference material. He could easily check whether it was authoritative or not. Mr. Sir, I think you can submit an application for your company to me. No problem, we can get it done in one day. I also brought the basic materials of the company. Ron knew the efficiency of the Indian government, so he had made full preparations before coming. Accountant Harris once told about his former employer, who ran for 3 months just to deliver materials in order to apply for a certain license. At first, he followed the procedures, but the grassroots staff found all kinds of faults, such as the wrong stamp position, unclear handwriting. Later, after giving a bribe, the other party accepted the materials obediently. But this is not the end. Accepting the materials does not mean that the application is approved. The staff only checked the page he was responsible for. There are dozens of pages of content that need to be reviewed by different people, but he just won't tell you. To put it bluntly, you didn't give the bribe at the first time, and the staff thought you were deliberately wasting his time. Can you do things in India without paying? That's simply unimaginable. Oh, by the way, because many foreigners want to find us to exchange dollars into rupees, can I apply for this part of the business? Ron's pretentious question seemed to grab Singh and Harry's heart, and their eyelids jumped uncontrollably. Harry, who had an Indian beard, licked his lips. Yes, you know, I receive many foreigners here every day, a lot. Ron gave them a look of Well, I have a friend, Harry, who was fat and big-eared, shook his neck. He is a businessman and has a lot of business in the United States. Well, how should I put it? He encountered a cash flow problem of exchanging rupees for dollars. Yes, that's it, I guess. The cash should be converted into dollars to flow smoothly. Yes, Harry smiled. I'm glad you understand my friend's problem. How serious is the backlog? Oh, I think about $10,000 can get it through. 140. What do you think of this exchange rate? Very good, very good. Harry grabbed Ron's elbow with a beaming face, and their brotherly relationship became even better. This price is very fair, and the price on the black market will be even higher. As far as Ron knows, the ratio of dollars sold to customers by Kadhan is usually more than 1.5 times. That is to say, his customers use 47 rupees to exchange $1 from him, but Ron only needs 40 rupees. Indian officials have a lot of black money in their hands, and this money cannot be recorded. Converting it into US dollars is the best way to launder money. And Ron can provide them with such help, and the process is seamless. So Mr. Singh, do you have such a friend? Ron asked considerately. Maybe there is. Singh touched his nose unnaturally, but the official license for exchanging foreign currency is more troublesome. I understand, it's not important. The tourist reception business is the focus of the company. Well, very good. He picked up the materials on the table. You don't have to fill out the application form. The Indian Airlines will help you complete the procedures. When are you going to open the reception at the airport? Oh, Ron was surprised by India's efficiency. The sooner the better. The tourist season is coming. Then come to me tomorrow, and by the way, I will go back and calculate. No, ask my friend how many US dollars he needs for working capital. No problem, I will reserve a good amount. After getting a satisfactory answer, Singh smiled and stood up. The reception of foreigners cannot be sloppy. I have to go back and arrange it as soon as possible. Thank you very much. You are a responsible official. The two sides shook hands and then said goodbye politely. The other party's blue headscarf was quite conspicuous in the hotel. Occasionally, people who knew him would respectfully walk over to say hello. Tisk. This deal was really not easy to make. Ron first used his own experience to gain sympathy, then used Lonely Planet to raise the company's status, and finally used benefits as a finishing blow. After a series of combined punches, the Mumbai Travel Information Company finally got the airport pass. There was no way. It was only 1992, and the power of Indian officials was ridiculous. Before 1991, if a company like Tata wanted to increase investment in a certain area, even if the amount was small, it needed the permission of Indian officials. They would tell Tata what to produce, when to produce, and where to produce. Tata was like this, let alone Ron, a small follower with skinny arms and legs. Before coming, he was prepared to be questioned, and he could not have any dissatisfaction, because the other party could block his way with just one word. Fortunately, the new government cabinet is already implementing reforms, and the environment will only become more and more relaxed in the future. By the way, Harry, let's talk about the last time my friend bought medicine. Ron's eyes were fixed on the cheerful Harry brother again. The benefits were given, so he had to make the best use of them. Chapter 50, Bribe of Justice. About buying medicine, Harry had forgotten a little. It's the Brazilian friend, he's very sick. Oh, Harry suddenly realized, that poor guy. Yes, his illness requires continuous and uninterrupted medication, and the amount is very large and he has to take it all the time. What a sad news, but how much? I guess a few 100 kilograms, as much as a car. He's very sick. Harry frowned. Yes, he's very pitiful, and he always buys medicine with US dollars. Ron felt the same way. US dollars, it's a bit troublesome. After all, there will be taxes at customs. 3 points. My friend thinks this tax rate is good. What do you think, brother Harry? I think it's in the gangs. Then it's settled. No problem. I'll go back and prepare for customs clearance. Harry moved his fat body and pulled himself out of the chair. So urgent? I just ordered the food. This is not that easy. I suggest shipping hundreds of kilograms. You know, air freight is very expensive. And I happen to have other colleagues in the customs. Okay, if my friend thinks the medicine is effective, maybe we can often come out for tea in the future. How about inviting your colleagues? No problem, Ron Baba. I promise they will all like you. Harry wiped the sweat from his face and hurriedly said goodbye and left. It seemed that he cared more about this matter than Ron. Tisk, one by one, very dedicated. It was him who was originally asking people to do things, but he was free. The atrium of the seaside hotel is beautiful. Sitting on the balcony, you can enjoy the sea breeze. The dishes have been ordered, and of course they will eat before leaving. In general, things went smoothly today. A short meeting of more than 10 minutes put an end to hundreds of sleepless nights or thousands of meaningless phone calls. Indian officials are not public servants, they are masters. What makes those honest critics despair the most is that this corrupt system actually runs unusually smoothly within Indian society. Ron returned to his apartment in the fort area in the afternoon. When he opened the door, the first thing he saw was Nia's panicked face. Baba, where have you been? Are you going to abandon Nia? No way. I drank too much last night and was at a friend's house. Seeing her pitiful appearance, Ron laughed out loud. The fatigue of dealing with Indian officials in the morning was unconsciously diluted a lot. Baba, you disappeared for a whole day, Nia cried and laughed. She didn't sleep all night, lying on the table in the living room, shocked and scared. She suddenly found that she couldn't find Ron. The company in the fort area and Victoria railway station were not there. She also went to the old apartment where she used to live, but it had collapsed. Looking at the pile of ruins in the mud, Nia was extremely scared. She ran home and kept guarding the door, not leaving a step. Oh, I forgot to tell you last night. I won't do that again, okay? Yeah. Ron wiped her tears with a smile, and couldn't help but touch her lips. Ah, Nia blushed. Haven't you eaten yet? She nodded shyly. I'll go buy some, you take a good shower, and then get ready to rest. Ron just turned around, and Nia grabbed his arm reflexively. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. Really? Patting her hand, Ron went out. There is a Sorab restaurant nearby, and their spiced rice rolls are famous in Mumbai. It is often full of guests. When Ron came out of the steamy and fragrant restaurant, the street outside was crowded with people. After asking people around him, I learned that the Ganesha festival is coming soon. It happened that the following October was the Indian New Year, and people started celebrating early. The three brothers really like this kind of religious activities, and of course, the demonstrations are also very clear. And every time they go out, the nearby streets will be paralyzed for half a day. When Ron finally squeezed back home, the wet Nia was already doing her hair. Let me do it. Ron was very familiar with this kind of thing. Mary and Lena. Ahem. Anyway, he was very good at helping girls to wipe their hair. Little Nia had never enjoyed such treatment. Ron's unreasonable actions made her both happy and terrified. Baba was the master. In Uttar Pradesh, such servants would be beaten to death. Baba, let Nia do it, no need. Ron wrapped her black hair with a dry towel and rubbed it, then sniffed it. It was the scent of cinnamon. As he smelled it, he actually felt a little hungry. Go and rest after eating. After taking care of her, Ron prepared to go to the study to write something. I can't sleep alone. She grabbed the corner of his clothes pitifully. Then I'll read a book and you can sleep next to me. Nia nodded obediently, but her pair of green eyes were still staring at him. Last night, she really thought Ron didn't want her anymore. Now that she had found her again, even when she lay down, her head would subconsciously move closer to him. Hey, why does the master smell different than usual? Nia sniffed her nose. Two kinds? The day after meeting Harry and the others, Ron came to visit the former's home near the Naka community with 2 boxes. As government officials, they have welfare rental housing as a supporting facility. Depending on the official position, the housing conditions are also different. Harry's Naka community is also in South Mumbai, and the location is quite good. This is the working capital your friends need, $10,000 per person. Ron, you've helped a lot. Opening the box, the green US dollars are dazzling. Harry and Singh exchanged glances with the people around them, and the same 2 boxes were delivered to Ron. You count, 400,000 rupees each. No need, we are brothers, Harry. That's right, we are fucking brothers. Harry has always believed that the US dollar is the most beautiful money in the world. That green color makes people's hearts surge, just like the green on the Indian flag. Here is your company's license. I have marked out several plots of land for you to choose from. The rent is 1,200 rupees per square meter, which is the lowest price. After 1 year, I will try to help you convert it into a 5-year franchise. After confirming that the US dollars in the box were fine, Singh also handed Ron a document very readily. This is the good thing about Indian officials. If they take the money, they will definitely do the job. People in the circle call this rule just bribery, which is a specialty of India. Happy cooperation, both of you. Ron, this kind of business turnover can continue in the future, right? Harry asked. As long as the quota here allows, there will be no problem. Definitely no problem. Harry shook his head happily. Ron smiled as a tacit agreement. It seems that he needs to explain to Hardhan. When he returned home, he originally planned to go to the train station to take a look. But an unexpected phone call disrupted his schedule. Smith, the first foreigner he and Anand received, called. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.